Chapter 1263. Chapter 1261. Help me watch her walk. Guang Bro, who was surrounded by people, froze when he saw Lin Yi standing beside Ziyu. Lin Yi? Why was it Lin Yi? Guang Bro wanted to die. Yes, he really wanted to die. If he knew that Lin Yi was here, he wouldn't have come. He wouldn't have come even if he had to give up the entire North District, let alone Fushan Middle School. This Guang Bro was, naturally, the boss of the North District, Zhou Ruoguang. At this moment, his expression was very interesting and very unsightly. Zhou Ruoguang knew very well what happened to Zhening Jun. So what if Ma Zhu was strong? Didn't he get crippled by Hayashi Lin? Hayashi Lin was fine and he was still alive and kicking. He heard that Ma Zhu's Shifu was coming down the mountain, and Zhou Ruoguang didn't think much of it. So what if it was his Shifu? In front of the omnipotent Hayashi Lin, his Shifu was just a piece of trash. Motherfucker. Zhou Ruoguang was so angry that he slapped Feilong Nan's face. A crisp slap sounded, stunning Feilong and his men. Even most of Zhou Ruoguang's men were stunned. Only a small portion of Zhou Ruoguang's men had seen Lin Yi before, and they knew that Lin Yi was a ruthless man. They understood why Zhou Ruoguang would go crazy and beat up Feilong. Guang Bro. Feilong was stunned and didn't know what to do. He covered his mouth and mumbled, Guang Bro, it wasn't me, it was that pretty boy, he was the one who beat Scar Bear, not me. You hit the wrong person. He did a good job. He did a good job. Zhou Ruoguang was shocked and quickly said, I'm hitting you. I didn't hit the wrong person. Even Ziyu and her men were dumbfounded. What was wrong with this Guang Bro? Did he just slap Nan Feilong? Had Brother Guang gone mad? But no matter what, Ziyu and her men were happy that Feilong was beaten up. Feilong was even more dumbfounded. I didn't make a mistake? Then why did Brother Guang hit him? Kill this brat for me. Beat them to death. Zhou Ruoguang pointed at the wyvern and ordered his men. Nan Feilong was definitely an enemy of Lin Yi's faction. In that case, Hayashi Lin didn't even need to do anything. He would deal with him himself. Yes. Although many of Zhou Ruoguang's men didn't understand what was going on, since their boss had spoken, then they would fight. Thus, Nan Feilong was surrounded and howled like a ghost. Zhou Ruoguang's men, on the other hand, were all experienced fighters. They could make people feel pain without causing any injuries. Guang Bro only said to beat him to death, not kill him directly. So these people didn't dare go all out. You come here. Lin Yi waved at Zhou Ruoguang. Zhou Ruoguang jumped in fright. He looked like he was in pain, but he didn't dare disobey Lin Yi's words. He could only carefully walk over to Lin Yi. Hayashi Lin, you're here. Look, in the North District there are still some troublemakers causing trouble in front of Hayashi Lin. It's all my fault. I'm sorry. Zhou Ruoguang's attitude was very low. He had to. Zhou Ruoguang knew very well what kind of person Lin Yi was. If Lin Yi wanted to mess with you, he didn't even need to kill you, he'd make you wish you were dead. Ziyu's eyes widened in disbelief. Why was the boss of the North District, Guang Bro, acting like this in front of Lin Yi? Did he get beaten up by Lin Yi as well? Don't talk like that. Lin Yi frowned. No need to explain, I'm not going to do anything to you. Since you're here, I have something to tell you. Hayashi Lin, just say the word. Don't worry, I'll get it done. Zhou Ruoguang patted his chest and promised that Lin Yi was looking for him. This was a great chance to repair his relationship with Lin Yi. He'd be an idiot if he didn't take this opportunity. That Nan Feilong, just cripple him, no need to kill him. Lin Yi pointed at Zhou Ruoguang's men who were beating the crap out of Feilong. Zhou Ruoguang was just a gangster after all, and he'd probably be held responsible for killing someone in public. Lin Yi didn't want to hurt him. Yes. Zhou Ruoguang nodded and turned to his men. Did you hear that? Hayashi Lin told you to cripple that Nan Feilong. Kick him in the crotch. Nan Feilong's underling hurriedly responded, and Nan Feilong squealed like a pig being slaughtered. Ziyu's mouth twitched once more. This Lin Yi was really cruel, wasn't he? But the weird thing was, how did he order Zhou Ruoguang around? Hayashi Lin, is there anything else you need me to do? Zhou Ruoguang asked curiously. If it was just crippling Nan Feilong, Lin Yi could do it too. It was such a simple thing, just like crippling Scar Bear. Lin Yi did it so easily. Yes, there's more. Lin Yi grabbed Ziyu's collar and pulled her in front of him, turning to Zhou Ruoguang. Do you know her? Yes, Ziyu, Fushan High School, the big sister of the third gang. Zhou Ruoguang didn't know what Lin Yi was talking about, but Lin Yi seemed to be a little close with Ziyu. So, in this uncertain situation, Zhou Ruoguang introduced Ziyu without any emotions. Zhou Ruoguang of course knew Ziyu. He'd been drooling over her before, but thinking about it, A delinquent girl like her had probably been fucked countless times already. Zhou Ruoguang wasn't that interested anymore. Yes, good. She's my sister now, I need her to study hard. Keep an eye on her, call me immediately if she's messing around in society again. Lin Yi ordered. No problem. Zhou Ruoguang was thankful that he hadn't played with Ziyu before, or he'd probably be kicked into a eunuch by Lin Yi today. Wiping his sweat, Zhou Ruoguang ignored Ziyu's murderous glare. No problem, leave it to me. Leave it to me from now on, in the North District, I'm the most well-informed. Don't worry, Hayashi Lin, I'll make sure Miss Ziyu studies hard every day. Otherwise I'll be the one to blame. Zhou Ruoguang was overjoyed. Being able to do something for Lin Yi was a great thing. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to get close to Lin Yi, but now that he was doing things for Lin Yi, Hao So would be Lin Yi's dog in name. Lin Yi wouldn't attack his own people, would he? Chapter 1264. Chapter 1262, Can't fight back, you're the boss of the North District. Why are you acting like a dog? Ziyu looked at Zhou Ruoguang a little disgusted. She used to worship him, thinking that he had to be something to be able to become the boss of the North District at such a young age. She didn't expect him to be a bootlicker. And hearing him promise to Lin Yi that he'd keep an eye on her and not let her go out, that pissed her off even more. She couldn't help but mock him. With Lin Yi here, she wasn't afraid. If it were before, Ziyu wouldn't have a good ending if she said something like that to Zhou Ruoguang, but now Zhou Ruoguang didn't care at all. He turned around with a grin. Miss Ziyu, don't blame me, it's hard for me too. You're Hayashi Lin's godsister, but I still have to listen to Hayashi Lin, don't I? Otherwise I'll be in trouble. Ziyu looked at Zhou Ruoguang's fawning face and felt a chill. This guy was hopeless. Whatever. You're a bully. Ziyu grabbed Lin Yi's arm and bit down. Lin Yi wasn't expecting this, so he wasn't prepared. But Lin Yi dodged it if he wanted to, and with a flick of his hand, Ziyu was thrown 3 feet away, landing stably on the ground. Ziyu was even angrier that she didn't get to bite Lin Yi. You need a beating, huh? Lin Yi looked at her. Don't try anything funny, come dye your hair with me. Ziyu's underlings understood the situation as well. The power structure of Fushan High was about to change. Feilong was crippled and he'd probably disappear from Fushan High. Ziyu, on the other hand, was forcefully taken away by a brother, to study. Most importantly, this brother of his was very powerful. Not only was he good at fighting, but even the boss of the North, Zhou Ruoguang, had to bow and scrape in front of him. In this way, only the second strongest faction was left. Who would have thought that second bro would take advantage of it? But they knew that they couldn't follow Ziyu anymore. Even if they wanted to, Lin Yi wouldn't let them. They'd die a horrible death. Lin Yi took Ziyu and nodded to Zhou Ruoguang before leaving with Xiao Xiao. Zhou Ruoguang saw Lin Yi off respectfully and said, Hayashi Lin, take care. Don't flatter me. Remember what I said. Lin Yi said faintly, however, if someone bullies her, I will settle the score with you. No. Zhou Ruoguang said quickly, Miss Ziyu is Hayashi Lin's sister, that means she's my miss. Miss Ziyu, I'll protect you from now on. Ziyu almost burst out laughing at Zhou Ruoguang's words. But a sense of accomplishment that she'd never felt before filled her heart. In the past, Ziyu dreamed of being able to unify the underworld of Songshan, and have the bosses of all the districts bow down to her. But she knew that it was just a dream. Women in the underworld were born weak and they couldn't go too far. But today Ziyu finally got to enjoy that kind of treatment. Seeing how respectful Zhou Ruoguang was to Lin Yi, Ziyu realized that her dream was being fulfilled in another way. She wondered when the big boss of Songshan would start praising her like this. What are your eyes rolling around for? What are you thinking of now? I'm telling you, study hard from tomorrow onwards. I'll get someone to test you regularly, and if you can't pass, I'll spank your ass 100 times. Lin Yi glared at her. Lin Yi didn't care about Ziyu at all. In Lin Yi's eyes, she was just a kid, and so Lin Yi really treated her like a sister. No, nothing. Ziyu tried asking, then you won't be able to stop me if I go with Zihua, right? You can try. If he dares to take you in, I'll burn down his floating cloud bar. Lin Yi frowned as he said faintly. Oh. Ziyu wasn't disappointed at all. She was actually excited. Lin Yi wasn't scared of Zihua. Her brother seemed to be pretty strong as a captain. She'd have a bright future if she followed him, right? But he didn't seem to be a gangster? Zhou Ruoguang called him Hayashi Lin? What did Hayashi Lin mean? Was he some sort of shaman? No way. Did my brother really ask you to take care of me? Ziyu calmed down after getting in the taxi. She knew she couldn't fight back and she could only accept her fate. Yeah, Linny nodded. Thinking of Armadillo, Linny felt a little gloomy. My brother. Where is he now? Why isn't he back? Ziyu asked. He's on a special mission and he might not be back for a long time. Your brother told me that you're about to take your high school entrance exams, and he told me to come see you and make sure you study. Linny said. Oh, I haven't seen my brother in a long time. Ziyu sighed. Do you think someone like me can get into high school? You can start studying tomorrow. Linny said faintly. You'll still have a future in the underworld, right? Ziyu asked carefully. Bullshit. Look at what happened to Zhou Ruoguang. It'd be easier than stepping on an ant if I wanted to kick him to death. Linny sighed. Ziyu was at the rebellious stage of adolescence and it was the most serious. Kids at this stage were impulsive, violent, and loved excitement. In their eyes, the big bosses of the underworld were powerful beings, and Ziyu was just like that. But Linny had to give her a proper outlook on life, telling her that Zhou Ruoguang had no future, and even Sihua had no future. Then what do you do? Ziyu asked. I used to be your brother's colleague, but I'm a student now. Linny didn't hide it. Ziyu would find out sooner or later. Student? Ziyu paused, looking at Linny oddly. You're a student? Yes, Songshan's first school. I came back to study. Linny said. Why are you asking so many questions? Mind your own business first. Ziyu pouted, resisting Lin Yi's violent upbringing a little, but there was nothing she could do. What could she use to go against him? Even people she thought were powerful had to bow and scrape in front of him. Ziyu didn't think she could win against Lin Yi in an argument. The key was that Lin Yi didn't seem to know how to be gentle with her at all, treating her like a child. Ziyu had no way of dealing with this. Chapter 1265. Encountering Sihua. There's a barbershop up ahead, sir. Let's park there. Lin Yi pointed at a small barbershop not far away. He turned to Ziyu. Let's do it here, I'll take you to get your hair dyed. No, it's too low class here. Ziyu shook her head. Low class? As long as you can dye your hair, what's the point? Lin Yi frowned, unhappy with Ziyu's luxurious lifestyle. But thinking about Armadillo's income, her family shouldn't be lacking money. Low-class hair dyes can cause cancer. Ziyu pouted. Is that so? Lin Yi turned to Xiao. Yeah, that's true. But once or twice shouldn't be a problem. Xiao nodded. If it's that easy, then forget it. Let's go to a high-class one. Lin Yi said to the driver, Sir, let's go to the highest-class hair salon. All right. The driver nodded. They knew all the high-class entertainment places in Songshan like the back of their palms, including hair salons. Soon the car stopped in front of a very luxurious salon. One could tell from the number of luxury cars parked outside that the customers here were all rich. It wasn't common to see people like Lin Yi coming in a taxi, so the security at the door paused when he saw Lin Yi and the others get out of the taxi. But the security here was very highly trained, and they wouldn't discriminate against customers. Lin Yi and the others walked over, and the security greeted them respectfully before ushering Lin Yi and the others into the salon. Sir, are you looking for a hair salon? A waitress walked over with a smile. Yeah, I'll dye her hair. Lin Yi brought Ziyun in front of the waitress. Dye her hair black. Sir, do you have an appointment? The waiter thought to himself. The little girl must have dyed her hair behind her family's back and was discovered by her elder brother. No, do I need to make an appointment? Lin Yi was slightly surprised. If you don't have a reservation, you can only wait in line. There are still a few customers in front of you, the waiter explained. I see. Lin Yi nodded. He raised his head and looked around the salon. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that this place also belonged to Pingzhan Industries. In the salon's lobby, Lin Yi saw Pingzhan Industries' logo. From the looks of it, Pingzhan was involved in quite a number of industries. No wonder so many people were after his company's assets. But since it was Pingzhan's company, Lin Yi didn't need to be courteous. Putting aside the fact that Lin Yi was a shareholder of Pingzhan Industries, Lin Yi's relationship with Pengzhan and the miss meant that he didn't need to be courteous. Lin Yi took out his diamond membership card and passed it to the waitress. I have a membership card. The waitress took the card from Lin Yi and was shocked when she saw the level on it. Why didn't you take it out earlier if you had a membership card? Was this his first time here? Sir, you are a diamond VIP. You don't need to line up. You can go to the VIP room upstairs. Although the waiter muttered in his heart, he was respectful on the surface. But the diamond VIP room is already used. Can only the ordinary VIP room be used? After all, Pengjian Industries didn't give out many diamond membership cards, and they were only given to people with connections. As a company under Pengjian Industries, one diamond VIP room was usually enough. It wasn't possible for all the diamond VIP members to come at the same time. But today was an accident. There was a VIP in the diamond VIP room, trying on her hair and makeup. So Linny had to go to the normal VIP room first. They couldn't kick the diamond VIP out, could they? Plus, the diamond VIP was a very important person. Sure, let's go then. Luckily, Linny didn't care about that at all. He took out the card because he didn't want to wait and wanted to do Ziyu's hair as soon as possible. The VIP lounge and the diamond VIP lounge were both located on the top floor of the salon. The diamond VIP lounge was a separate room, while the VIP lounge was a large room. The difference in service between the two was not big, but the environment was slightly different. Ziyu had always wanted to go to a better salon, but she'd never been to a place this good before. She'd only go to the middle-class ones, and this was her first time here. Her eyes kept looking around, feeling that this place was really high class. But when Ziyu was looking around, she saw someone she used to worship a lot. Zihua was sitting in the corner of the VIP room. He was probably waiting for someone or doing something. When Ziyu saw him, Linny saw him as well. Linny wasn't surprised that Zihua was here. Pengjian was the boss of Songshan's underworld, and it was understandable that he had a diamond VIP card. But with his relationship with Qibing, who would believe that Zihua would come to Pengjian Industries' business just because he had nothing better to do? There had to be something going on. Linny was right, Zihua really did have something going on here. Su Shirhan was trying on her hair and makeup here, and Qibing was drooling over her. He sent Zihua to find out where she was, to see if she'd come back to him for treatment. Zihua had no choice but to become the paparazzi here. Isn't this Zihua, bro? Linny turned his head, a mocking smile on his face. When are you going to pay me back the money you owe me? Ahem. Zihua coughed twice, his face a little ugly. There was nothing he could do to Linny. He didn't dare piss him off and he didn't dare scold him. Wasn't House Yu the perfect example? See, if you don't study hard, you'll end up like that idiot Zihua going around in debt. Look at how pitiful he'll be. Even in the VIP room, he'll have to find a corner to sit. Linny pointed at Zihua and called out to Ziyu. Ziyu didn't think that what Linny said was true. This Zihua was like a punching bag in front of Linny, smiling bitterly even when Linny was mocking him like that. Man, image. In Ziyu's heart, Zihua's big bro image had completely crumbled. Why were these people all so weak? Not a single one of them worked hard. Chapter 1266. Wait for someone. Wait for someone. Zihua shivered when he saw Lin Yi's hand reach into his pocket. This guy wasn't playing with needles again, was he? His brother was a sponge now, full of holes, and someone as strong as Yao Wang was now an antenna. Zihua didn't dare act rashly in front of Lin Yi. Wait for someone? Oh, Lin Yi asked. The people in the diamond room. Zihua was troubled, but he had to answer Lin Yi's question. Oh, keep waiting then. Since they were waiting for someone, Lin Yi naturally lost interest. It was fine as long as they weren't here to cause trouble. Lin Yi let Zihua go and found a waitress, telling her that Ziyu wanted to dye her hair back to black. And so, under Ziyu's unwillingness, the waiter started applying the ointment on her hair. Missing, your skin color is actually very pretty when you're yellow before, but if you dye it back to black, there's nothing special about it anymore. I suggest you dye it blue and black, you look pretty under the sun. The hairdresser suggested. My words don't count. My guardian won't let me. Ziyu was troubled and didn't call Lin Yi big bro anymore. She just called him guardian. The hairdresser couldn't help but chuckle and shake his head, continuing to dye Ziyu's hair. This sister of yours is quite cute. Xiao Xiao sat beside Lin Yi and Lin Yi sat not far from Zihua waiting for Ziyu. Zihua, on the other hand, felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. After a while, he felt uncomfortable and went downstairs, planning to wait for Su Shirhan in the car. Seeing Lin Yi reminded him of his brother and Yao Wang, and he didn't want that to happen to him. It's alright, just a little kid. Didn't think that a bad example like Zihua would be here. Saves me the trouble. Lin Yi smiled. Wasn't I the same as her before? Xiao Xiao looked at Ziyu and thought of her old self. Your situation is different from hers. You have a problem with your body which led to your extreme personality, but she's different. She worships violent things from the bottom of her heart. If she sees the nature of violence clearly, I believe she won't do it again, Lin Yi said. Let's hope so. Do you think she can get into high school? Xiao Xiao asked. Whether she gets in or not, it's fine as long as she works hard. When the time comes she will still go to first high school. Linny smiled and said, it's just to give her some pressure. Pressure is good. Only with pressure can you improve. Xiao Xiao nodded. You're under a lot of pressure right now, right? Why do you say that? Linny was slightly startled. Because of me? You don't have to feel so pressured if you want to find a way to cure me. Life and death are up to the heavens. I don't want to leave you guys right now, but I've thought it through. It's fine, I'm already very happy, Xiao Xiao said. Ha, don't think so much, there'll always be a way. Linny didn't say much on this topic. 1. He didn't want Xiao Xiao to be sad, and 2. Linny didn't have a good idea yet. Ziyu's hair was dyed black. It wasn't obvious after washing it, but it would turn black after a few more washes. Are you happy now? Ziyu looked at herself in the mirror. She looked a lot more innocent now, and her hairstyle was fixed up too. She had the youthful shoulder-length hair of a schoolgirl, and it didn't match the tight clothes she was wearing at all. You're starting to look like a schoolgirl now. Let's go buy some clothes. Linny grabbed Ziyu and walked out. Don't carry me, I can walk myself. Ziyu felt a little embarrassed being carried around like a little chick. This guy really thought she was a little girl. She was 16 and she knew everything. When Linny got downstairs, Zihua wasn't gone yet. The car was still in the parking lot, but Linny ignored him and took Ziyu to a clothing store. They didn't go to expensive brand-name stores, just a few casual sportswear stores. They bought some clothes that schoolgirls usually wore, and had Xiao Xiao go to the changing room to force Ziyu to change into them. Ziyu, who came out of the changing room, was no longer the gangster girl from before. She looked like a girl next door, young and cute. Her eyes were bright, and she didn't have any makeup on her face, looking much more natural. Most importantly, her breasts weren't as big as before. That's more like it. Linny nodded, satisfied. You're still acting like a schoolgirl, but if you keep squeezing your breasts that big, I'll cut them off for you. Ziyu's face turned red from Lin Yi's scolding. She glared at Lin Yi, wanting to bite him to death. Go to the bookstore now and buy a few exercise books. Read them from top to bottom when you get back, and I'll do a spot check next week. If you get more than 5 questions wrong, I'll smack your butt. Linny threatened. Ziyu was speechless. Her basics were bad, and when had she ever learned anything? Now that Linny wanted her to do exercise books, wasn't that like killing her? But there was nothing she could do to a tyrant like Lin Yi. Guang Bro and Sihua Bro were nothing in front of Lin Yi. They were more punching bags than punching bags. Ziyu's temper was gone, and she didn't doubt that she'd get a spanking if she went against Lin Yi. After buying the clothes, Lin Yi brought Ziyu to the bookstore like a parent, buying her a bunch of revision materials. Ziyu's face was like a bitter gourd, but she didn't dare say anything against it. She could only accept it angrily. When the 3 of them took a taxi back to Fushan Middle School, the power structure of Fushan Middle School had been settled. Under Zhou Ruoguang's instructions, Brother He, who used to be the second largest gang in Fushan Middle School, became the sole boss of Fushan Middle School and was directly under Zhou Ruoguang's jurisdiction. Of course, while He Bro was happy for himself, he was troubled as well. He'd gotten Zhou Ruoguang's permission, and other than him, there was another miss in the school, Ying Ziyu. He didn't know how she got to know this Hayashi Lin all of a sudden, but if even Guang Bro called her an old servant, then she definitely wasn't a simple person. He Bro was even more scared, afraid that he'd get into trouble if he didn't serve her well. He knew what happened to Scar Bear and Nan Fai Long, and he didn't want to end up like them. So, as the boss in name, he could only wait at the school gates like a servant. Chapter 1267. Chapter 1265, Acquaintances in School. He knew what happened to Scar Bear and Nan Fai Long, and he didn't want to end up like them. As the boss in name, He Bro had no choice but to become a servant at the school gates. But it was okay, other than serving Ziyu the Grand Miss, all the power in the school belonged to him. It was much stronger than before. Seeing the young girl get off the taxi, He Bro found it hard to connect her with big sis Ying Ziyu. Was this Ying Ziyu? Was Ziyu that cute? She was sexy, but this was the first time He Bro thought that she was cute. But even if she was cute, that was fine. Ziyu was being held by the neck by a man who didn't even look that old, and he was walking towards the school. But He Bro wasn't stupid. He remembered what Guang Bro said earlier. This man was Hayashi Lin without a doubt. At the thought, He Bro quickly ran over, very respectful. Miss Ziyu, welcome back to school. This must be Hayashi Lin, right? I've been waiting for you for a long time. What did you say? Lin Yi was confused. Who are you? I'm Lil He, the new boss of Fushan School that Guang Bro promoted. Of course in front of you two I'm just a little servant. Guangbro told me that I'll watch Miss Ziyu's studies, protect her and not let anyone bully her. Please don't worry, Hayashi Lin. Hey bro patted his chest. Alright, go away. It's none of your business. Lin Yi waved his hand, indicating that Hey bro could go play somewhere else. Yes. Hey bro nodded. Just as Lin Yi was about to bring Ziyu into the school, a familiar voice called out to him. Lin Yi bro, xiao sis, it's really you guys. Qin Shi ran over happily. I thought it looked like you guys, but it really is you guys. Why are you guys here? Are you here to see me? Qin Shi? You study here too? Lin Yi was a little surprised. He didn't think that a girl like Qin Shi would go to such a chaotic school. Yeah. Qin Shi nodded when her eyes landed on Ziyu's face in front of Lin Yi. She covered her mouth and pointed at Lin Yi in disbelief. You're Ziyu sis? Ziyu lowered her head when she saw Qin Shi running over. She really didn't want Qin Shi to see her like this, but Qin Shi still recognized her. Oh, you know Ziyu? Lin Yi was curious. It seemed like the two were quite close. Yeah, Ziyu sis always takes care of me in school. Qin Shi nodded. She wasn't really that close with Ziyu. After all, Qin Shi was a good girl and Ziyu was a big sis. But they were in the same class. One time, Qin Shi was being harassed by a few boys, and Ziyu couldn't stand it anymore. She taught them a lesson, and after that, Ziyu announced that Qin Shi was her sister, someone she would protect, and no one dared to bully Qin Shi anymore. The knife in Ziyu's hand was no joke. No one dared to provoke her. Qin Shi was pretty, but so was Ziyu. No one would do that. Oh, that's perfect. From today on, Ziyu's going to study hard. Qin Shi, since you're classmates with her, you should help her with her studies. I bought a bunch of revision materials for her, you guys can read them together. Lin Yi knew Qin Shi's family situation. She probably couldn't afford studying materials normally, or she wouldn't be able to stay in a school like this without spending money. And so, Qin Shi could read with Ziyu, and Ziyu could help Qin Shi with the things she didn't know. Yeah, okay. Qin Shi was very happy. She was grateful to Ziyu for taking care of her, but she also wanted Ziyu to focus on her studies. As far as she was concerned, Ziyu wasn't dumb. She was smart, and if she focused on her studies, she wouldn't be any worse than her. Man, I'll be counting on you from now on. Ziyu stopped pretending now that she was recognized. Qin Shi was going to find out sooner or later, and with her help, she might be able to learn faster. Qin Shi was the first in the school. How's your mom? Xiao turned to Qin Shi. She's all right. Ever since she drank the medicine Lin Yi bro gave her, she's gotten a lot better. Qin Shi nodded happily. I'm so lucky meeting Ziyu sis in school and meeting Lin Yi bro and Xiao sis outside. Yeah, alright, I'll go get some medicine for you later and I'll go see your mom at home. Lin Yi didn't actually need to go to Qin Shi's house. Lin Yi knew Qin Shi's mom's condition like the back of his hand. Even if he didn't go, Lin Yi would be able to find the right medicine. But Lin Yi was a little curious about that Grandpa Zhu. This guy was clearly a mystic late phase peak, so why was he picking up trash beside a little girl? Lin Yi followed Ziyu and Qin Shi to their classroom. The students had all heard about Lin Yi's exploits outside the school. There were no secrets in the school, and everyone was very respectful of Lin Yi. Even if Ziyu wasn't the big sister anymore, they were more afraid of her than when she was the big sister. With such a strong brother, she could do whatever she wanted in the school. Even Guang bro and Hey bro were very respectful to her, let alone normal students. Now that Qin Shi and Lin Yi were very close, the students all regretted it. They didn't offend Qin Shi because of Ziyu, but they still looked down on her for studying so hard every day. But from today onwards, no one dared to look down on her. This is your class, why is it so messy? Lin Yi frowned as he looked at the weirdly dressed students in the classroom. Some were playing poker, some were playing video games, and there were even couples hugging and kissing each other. Lin Yi frowned. How old was she, and she was already dating? And touching each other? How could Qin Shi study properly in this kind of environment? Every class is like this, you just have to get used to it. Qin Shi didn't think much of it. Chapter 1268. Chapter 1266. Weird Uncle Lin Yizu stuck her tongue out, not daring to say anything. She really was a bit scared of Lin Yi. Lin Yi walked up to the podium and knocked on it with the eraser. The chaotic classroom quieted down immediately. These people all knew who Lin Yi was, even the boss of the North District, Guang bro, called himself an old slave. What kind of person was he? Listen up, all of you. From tomorrow onwards, if you want to come to school, go back to your normal clothes. The guys are not allowed to go topless, and the girls are not allowed to show their thighs or breasts. Dye your hair back to black and study in class. If you don't want to come to school, you can leave now. Lin Yi's voice was calm, but there was an indescribable power in it. I've said what I have to say. If anyone disobeys, you'll have to bear the consequences. The students in the classroom were in pain, but there was nothing they could do about it. Under Lin Yi's pressure, they could only hold their noses and accept it. When Lin Yi brought Ziyu back to school, it was almost time for school to end. Not long after, the bell rang in the hallway and the students started packing their bags. There's no teacher? Lin Yi asked curiously. The teachers come in the morning, and they usually have self-study in the afternoon. She said. Everyone doesn't like to study and they won't listen when the teachers come. There's nothing we can do about it. Lin Yi nodded helplessly. She was right, this was how the school was. It was a problem from top to bottom, and it wasn't something that could be changed easily. This was something the headmaster should worry about, and Lin Yi couldn't be bothered. He brought Ziyu and Qinshi out of the school with Xiao Xiao. They got a taxi and sent Ziyu home, getting her to know the place so that Lin Yi could catch her whenever he wanted. Ziyu's neighborhood wasn't that high class, just a normal old neighborhood. It seemed that Lin Yi was right, she didn't have much money on her. Armadillo had left her some, but it had been so many years and she'd probably spent most of it. Do you have enough money? Lin Yi looked around the place, feeling that it was clean and tidy. He nodded. It seemed that Ziyu wasn't a sloppy girl, and Lin Yi didn't find anything bad in her house. Although Lin Yi's attack counted as a sudden attack, and Ziyu probably wouldn't have prepared anything beforehand, Lin Yi still checked every single room carefully. Lin Yi was afraid that Ziyu would hide some drugs, ecstasy and whatnots. Lin Yi was afraid that Ziyu would get into the habit of taking drugs. One had to know that Lin Yi's detection abilities were quite strong, and all the hidden items in the room couldn't escape his eyes. Lin Yi walked around a big room. This should be Ziyu's brother's room, Armadillo's. The room was very spacious, and other than a bed, a desk and a small closet, there was nothing else. It didn't take long for him to finish his investigation. Other than some of the armadillo's clothes, letters and pictures, there was nothing else. Looking at the pictures Armadillo kept, Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh. Lin Yi couldn't help but remember some things from back then. But here Lin Yi couldn't let himself show any hint of sadness. It'd be bad if Ziyu found out. Lin Yi left Armadillo's room and went into Ziyu's room. Ziyu didn't mind when Lin Yi went into her brother's room, thinking that he was helping her brother take something. But when she saw that Lin Yi didn't take anything and went back to her room, as if he was looking for something, she panicked. Like a cat that got its tail stepped on, she jumped in front of Lin Yi. What are you looking for? Lin Yi's heart sank when he saw how nervous she was. Could it be that she really hid something in her room and didn't want him to find it? Could it be that she really was a drug addict? Stand there. Lin Yi glared at Ziyu and ignored her, continuing to look for something in the room. Ziyu stomped her feet when she saw that she couldn't stop Lin Yi. Her face was red, but there was nothing she could do. She could only close the door, not letting Xiao Xiao and Qinshi see what was going on in the room. What are you looking for? I'll find it for you, Ziyu said as she watched Lin Yi get closer and closer to her bed. Stand there. Didn't you hear me? Lin Yi frowned, ignoring her. Ziyu felt wronged, but there was nothing she could do. She could only look at Lin Yi worriedly, looking around her bed. Suddenly she saw Lin Yi pick something up. Ziyu felt like her heart was going to explode. Lin Yi's eyes lit up. You found her. You found her. She was done for, she was really done for. She wouldn't have any face left in the future. Lin Yi was speechless. He finally understood why Ziyu was stopping him from looking for things. She hid a vibrator under her pillow. Lin Yi felt a little awkward holding the vibrator, but since he'd found it and he was playing the role of a guardian, Lin Yi couldn't just ignore it. It seemed that she wasn't that young anymore, even though he'd always treated her like a kid. 16 years old. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Didn't he sneak into porn when he was 16 and get caught by his old man? It was really awkward back then. Ziyu, on the other hand, was a gangster boss. She'd probably seen a lot of stuff like this and she'd probably seen those movies before. Ziyu only bought a vibrator for herself, and it made Lin Yi feel much better than bringing a guy home for the night. It seemed that this Ziyu was a very clean girl. As for whether or not she was using a vibrator to masturbate, Lin Yi didn't see anything wrong with that. He coughed. You should focus on your studies now, don't use these things too much. When you use it, you need to be hygienic. You don't get a gynecological disease at such a young age. Come here, I'll give you a checkup. Checkup? Ziyu was embarrassed when she heard what Lin Yi said, but what Lin Yi said next made her eyes go wide. Gynecological disease? Checkup? Was Lin Yi going to give her a checkup? Chapter 1269. Chapter 1267, Opening Ziyu, yes check. Linny nodded solemnly. Linny was pretty sure that Ziyu didn't have anything like ecstasy in her room, but he wasn't sure if the girl had eaten anything like that before. Checking her pulse was the safest way. Of course, he could check if the girl had gotten herself some gynecological disease or something. You really want to check? Ziyu gritted her teeth as she looked at Lin Yi bitterly. Upon closer inspection, this guardian was quite handsome and capable, with even Sihua and Zhou Ruoguang treating him with respect. This was the Prince Charming of her dreams, but this guy didn't care about her at all. He was a tyrant. He suddenly wanted to check her body again, and this made Ziyu instinctively resist. No, she really couldn't. What's with all the bullshit? Lin Yi frowned and pulled Ziyu in front of him, grabbing her hand and checking her pulse. Ziyu snapped out of her shock, only to realize that Lin Yi didn't take off her clothes like she'd imagined, only checking her pulse. Ziyu breathed out in relief but couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. It seemed like she was thinking too much. He still treated her like a kid. Good, I haven't done drugs before. Lin Yi breathed out in relief, his eyes softening as he looked at Ziyu. I don't have any gynecological diseases for now, but I can't say for sure in the future. Pay attention to your personal hygiene when you do it, don't stuff it in, just leave it outside. Ah. Ziyu was going crazy again, glaring at Lin Yi. I'm not an idiot. Put it in and it'll break. I'm still a virgin. Lin Yi paused at the sight of Ziyu going crazy, but he understood what was going on. He treated her like a kid, but she probably didn't think the same way. She was already 16 and she wasn't a kid to her anymore. It was normal for her to be angry after hearing what he said. All right. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and let go of Ziyu's hand. I hate you. I hate you. Ziyu ran to her bed after Lin Yi let her go, hiding the vibrator and burrowing into her blanket, crying. Today was probably the most embarrassing day. Her privacy was exposed by a guy. She didn't want to live anymore. This guy was her guardian, but Ziyu didn't feel like one no matter how she looked at him. Ziyu felt wronged. Would he think that she was a shameless girl? Buying these things at such a young age? Ziyu's reaction made Lin Yi a bit helpless. He sighed as he looked at the crying Ziyu on the bed. He treated her like a kid, but he'd forgotten about her emotions as a young girl. But this thing wasn't easy to talk to. He turned around and walked out of Ziyu's room, seeing Xiao Xiao and Qin Shi chatting in the living room. He waved his hand at Xiao Xiao, signaling her to come over. This kind of thing was best discussed between girls, and he'd let Xiao Xiao talk to her a little. Xiao Xiao saw that Lin Yi was calling her and walked over. What's wrong? Where's Ziyu? Can I ask you something? Have you ever, touched yourself? Lin Yi lowered his voice and whispered into Xiao Xiao's ear. What are you doing? Xiao Xiao blushed as she looked at Lin Yi weirdly. But the two were a couple now, so Xiao Xiao didn't feel too embarrassed. She just didn't understand why Lin Yi would ask this all of a sudden. Ziyu bought a vibrator and I found out. She's crying on the bed now, can you go talk to her? Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't ask if Xiao Xiao had done it or not. It'd be too ambiguous if he did. Xiao Xiao blinked, finding it funny. Why are you going through her stuff? You're afraid she's hiding drugs or something, right? Lin Yi shrugged. I'll leave it to you. All right. Xiao Xiao nodded and walked into Ziyu's room. Ziyu felt so wronged. As the big sis, she hadn't cried in a long time, but today she couldn't hold it in anymore. Lin Yi was too much of a bully. This was a girl's privacy, how could he just say it like that? How shameless. Ziyu? Xiao Xiao looked at the sobbing Ziyu, buried her head in the cup, smiling as she walked over and sat beside her. Xiao Xiao sis? Ziyu didn't expect it to be Xiao Xiao. She raised her head, embarrassed, wiping her tears. Why are you here? Ziyu had a good impression of Xiao Xiao. They hadn't talked much, but Xiao Xiao was much better than that tyrant Lin Yi. She didn't know how that tyrant found such a gentle and cute girlfriend. Was Xiao Xiao gentle and cute? Ziyu just didn't see the other side of Xiao Xiao. Why were you crying? Where's that knife-wielding Ziyu? Xiao Xiao smiled. Xiao Xiao sis, you're making fun of me too. Ziyu was on the verge of breaking down. As for the strong Ziyu from before, she could go to hell. I'm not making fun of you, but I heard what happened. Isn't it just a vibrator? I've used it before, it's no big deal. Xiao Xiao started bullshitting. She hadn't actually used it before, not even daring to think about love. She didn't even have someone to fantasize about, much less touching herself. But after getting together with Lin Yi, she had done it a few times recently. It was just that she only used her hands, not anything like a vibrator. Oh, you have one too? Ziyu paused, interested. You're not lying to me? Of course not. Xiao Xiao started talking to Ziyu. She was a few years older than Ziyu, after all, and her mindset was different from Ziyu's. She just told her about the pros and cons and things to pay attention to, and it helped Ziyu get over it. As for what they talked about, only the two of them knew. But when Xiao Xiao brought Ziyu out of the room, Ziyu wasn't crying anymore. She had a shy smile on her face. It's about time Qinshi should go back. Ziyu, stay at home and study. I'll come check next week. Xiao Xiao said to Ziyu. Chapter 1270. Chapter 1268. Testing Grandpa Zhu, but she wasn't that nice to her guardian Lin Yi. She said goodbye to Lin Yi unwillingly, thinking that it would be best if they never met again. Lin Yi didn't bother with the kid either. He smiled and brought Qinshi and Xiao Xiao out of Ziyu's house. Ziyu looked at Lin Yi's back and humphed. She threw the newspaper on the ground and started stomping on it. I'll stomp you to death. I'll stomp you to death. I'm so pissed. Lin Yi naturally didn't know that Ziyu thought he was the one stomping on the newspaper. After leaving Ziyu's house, Lin Yi went to a pharmacy and bought some medicine before bringing Qinshi to her house with Xiao Xiao. Qinshi's house was a place Lin Yi came to last time, but he didn't go upstairs. This time Lin Yi pretended to ask casually, where's that old man with you last time at the beach? He didn't get crippled by Xie Yufeng, did he? How's that possible? Qinshi was about to say that Grandpa Zhu was really strong, teaching Xie Yufeng a lesson after Lin Yi left. But she didn't get to finish before she was interrupted. At this moment, Grandpa Zhu had already appeared in the corridor. He coughed twice and said with a smile, Xiaoxi is back? Why are you still concerned about the fight I had with someone at the beach? I'm an old man, but I'm not heavily injured. I'll be fine after a few days of rest. Qinshi paused, not knowing why Grandpa Zhu would suddenly appear and interrupt her. But since Grandpa Zhu said that, Qinshi didn't say anything else. She remembered that Grandpa Zhu told her to hide the fact that he knew Kung Fu, but as far as she was concerned, Lin Yi was a good person, her mother's savior. It shouldn't be a big deal to tell him. But since Grandpa Zhu didn't want to, Qinshi could only give up. After all, in her eyes, Grandpa Zhu was a good person worthy of respect. All these years he had taken care of her and her mother, so Qinshi still had to listen to Grandpa Zhu. Oh, that's good. But I heard that Xie Yufeng was heavily injured. I wonder who helped you out? Lin Yi looked at Grandpa Zhu with a smile that wasn't a smile. Seriously injured by someone? It can't be, right? Could it be that someone saw me being bullied that day and helped me? But I was scared that day and left in a hurry, so I didn't see what happened behind me. Grandpa Zhu pushed all the blame away. I see. Lin Yi nodded and looked at Grandpa Zhu. I heard your surname is Zhu? Yes, what's the matter? Grandpa Zhu's heart skipped a beat and he asked calmly. It's nothing. This surname is quite rare. I have met someone with the surname Zhu. I wonder how he is related to you? Lin Yi asked calmly. The world is big, there are many people with the same surname. Naturally, it has nothing to do with me. Grandpa Zhu shook his head. I haven't even told you who that person is, and you already know it has nothing to do with you? Lin Yi asked. Young man, you must be joking. I am a lonely old man with no family left. Of course, I wouldn't have anything to do with others. Grandpa Zhu smiled. I see. Lin Yi nodded. If that's the case, then I won't disturb you any longer. I'm going to Xi's house to treat her mother. Young man, thank you. Grandpa Zhu nodded. Qinshi was confused by the conversation between Lin Yi and Grandpa Zhu. She naturally didn't know that it was Lin Yi's test. She thought that Lin Yi and Grandpa Zhu got along well, so she didn't think much about it. If Lin Yi couldn't see through Grandpa Zhu's strength and was only suspicious, then he wouldn't have gotten any accurate information from the previous test. After all, there were no flaws in Grandpa Zhu's words. However, Lin Yi wasn't just suspicious, but he was sure that there was something wrong with this Grandpa Zhu. The previous few words made Lin Yi even more certain that there was something wrong with this Grandpa Zhu. Grandpa Zhu went downstairs. When Lin Yi and the others entered Qinshi's house, a gloomy look flashed across his eyes. Little bastard, you ruined my plans. You actually have doubts about me? Looks like I have to tell the master about this. Grandpa Zhu gritted his teeth and roared. Testing me? I don't think you'll find anything. The bridges I've crossed are more than the roads you've walked. After scolding Lin Yi, Grandpa Zhu found a place with no one and made a phone call. Elder Zhu, why are you calling me at this time? Didn't I tell you? Don't call me if there's nothing important. If Jean finds out, I'm afraid she'll cause trouble again. On the other side of the phone, it was a man's gloomy voice. That woman, you haven't killed her yet? She's just a slut, how can she die so slowly? I'm sorry, young master. The plan was about to succeed, but it was ruined by that brat Lin Yi. You know that brat Lin Yi, he'll ruin everything. Grandpa Zhu said with some annoyance. That woman was about to die of cancer, but Lin Yi cured her. If it wasn't for the master wanting Xiao Shi, I wouldn't have gone through so much trouble to give that woman cancer in order to cultivate a relationship with her. I would have killed her with one slap. Xiao Shi has been trained by you since she was young, she's a good cultivation vessel. She'll be a bargaining chip for us to rope in other families. The man didn't seem to see Qin Shi as his own flesh and blood at all. He only saw her as a bargaining chip. But thinking about it, the man was a playboy when he was young, he went around flirting, it was normal for him to have a few bastards outside. It's just that Xiao Shi's mother was a hotel attendant, her status was so low that the man only saw her as a slut. I understand, but that woman? Grandpa Zhu said with some difficulty. With Lin Yi here, I can't do anything. I'll talk to my father about this. Don't worry about him for now, just don't let him find out. The man ordered. Yes, young master. Grandpa Zhu nodded. Mother Chen's complexion was good today, much better than before. It could be seen that she was definitely a first-class beauty when she was young, but the vicissitudes of time made her a little haggard. But after a period of continuous medication, Mother Chen's change was still very obvious. Chapter 1271. There's something wrong with the water. Auntie Chen, just call me Lil E, no need to call me Mr. Lin. Lin Yi smiled. Looks like you're recovering well, exceeding my expectations. Now we can move on to the next treatment. Then I won't hold back, I'll call you Lil E. Mrs. Chen smiled. Thank you, if it weren't for your medicine, I wouldn't be able to recover this fast. Go get some tea for the guests, what are you standing here for? Okay, Mom. Chen Shi had gotten a lot closer with Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao this afternoon. She forgot to pour them tea when she got home, only remembering after her mother reminded her. No need, we don't drink tea. Lin Yi waved his hand. I just came to check on your recovery, Auntie Chen. I'm relieved now, Xiao Xiao and I should go. You're not in a hurry, right? Why don't we eat here tonight? Mrs. Chen quickly asked Lin Yi to stay. Sure, let's eat together then. Lin Yi nodded, he didn't have much to do tonight anyway, he just wanted to keep Xiao Xiao company. Thinking about it, if he didn't return and stayed outside to accompany Xiao Xiao, the young miss wouldn't say anything. It was fine as long as Xiao Xiao was happy. Xiao Xiao was very happy too, she saw an optimistic and unyielding spirit in Qin Shi, and that made her feel much better. That's great, I'll go cook with Shi in the kitchen. Lil E, you and Xiao Xiao can watch TV in the living room? Mrs. Chen was very happy that Lin Yi agreed. No need, we'll go help too. It'll be faster, Lin Yi smiled. Don't look down on me, I'm a master chef. Ah, Lin Yi honey cooks really well. Xiao Xiao added. Mrs. Chen wanted to reject them, but after hearing what Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao said, she had no choice but to let Lin Yi go to the kitchen. Chen Shi was washing the vegetables, Mrs. Chen was cutting the meat, and Xiao Xiao was helping her. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had nothing to do. This is the water for washing vegetables. Lin Yi's gaze suddenly focused on the vegetable bowl in front of Qin Shi. What's wrong with water? Big brother Lin Yi? Qin Shi was confused. Let me see. Lin Yi squeezed through and Qin Shi was pushed to the side. Lin Yi's body bumped into Qin Shi, making her blush a little. But when she peeked at Lin Yi, it seemed like he didn't notice it at all. Qin Shi secretly let out a sigh of relief. How could Lin Yi know what this child was thinking? It was one thing for Ziyu to have some thoughts since she used to be a gangster. But a good girl like Qin Shi had thoughts too? Although Qin Shi was a good girl, she was still in puberty. She had some fantasies about the opposite sex. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had helped her family so much that it was impossible for Qin Shi to not have feelings for him. It was just a hazy feeling and Qin Shi hid it in her heart, not daring to show it. She was afraid that Xiao Xiao would find out and think that she was trying to seduce her boyfriend. If that happened, Qin Shi would be too ashamed to show her face. Where did this water come from? Lin Yi dipped his finger in the water and put it in his mouth. Ah, it's tap water, is there a problem? Qin Shi was pulled back from her thoughts by Lin Yi's question, and after a slight pause she quickly replied. Tap water? Lin Yi frowned. He turned on the tap water and put a few drops in it. What's wrong? Is there a problem with the tap water? Mrs. Chen saw Lin Yi studying the tap water and quickly walked over. Is the water quality bad? It's like this in the old city, it's already connected to the water purifier. Water purifier? Lin Yi lowered his body and found a water purifier under the cabinet. Lin Yi didn't say anything and closed the water valve, then removed the water purifier. Lin Yi's action made Qin Shi and Mrs. Chen stunned. If it was someone else doing this, then Mrs. Chen would definitely stop it. How could you just remove someone else's water heater? However, it was Lin Yi who did it, so there must be a reason, so Mrs. Chen didn't ask much. Where did you buy this water purifier? After Lin Yi removed the water purifier, he carefully checked the water purifier and asked. This water purifier wasn't bought, it was picked up by Grandpa Zhu when he was picking up junk. After he helped to replace the filter, he helped us install it. What's wrong, Lin Yi Gij, is there a problem? Qin Shi asked curiously. Nothing, don't use this water purifier, it's a bit dirty. Lin Yi frowned. Grandpa Zhu again? Why him again? Could it be that Grandpa Zhu caused Mrs. Chen's cancer? In this water purifier, there was a substance that would cause cancer if taken for a long time, but Lin Yi didn't know why Qin Shi didn't get cancer. Was it because she was young and had a strong immune system? Or did she take the antidote before? In short, Mrs. Chen's cancer wasn't an accident, it was caused by someone. After removing the water purifier, Lin Yi reconnected the tap water. This time there was no problem. Lin Yi's brows furrowed deeper and deeper, and the doubts in his heart grew bigger and bigger. Before, when Lin Yi saw Grandpa Zhu beside Qin Shi, he felt it was strange, but Grandpa Zhu didn't seem to have any bad intentions towards Qin Shi. Lin Yi was just curious why a peak late-phase mystic class master would be beside Qin Shi. But now Lin Yi could be sure that this Grandpa Zhu didn't have any good intentions. He actually poisoned the water purifier, the purpose was to give Mrs. Chen cancer. But Lin Yi didn't understand. Why would a peak late-phase mystic class master use such a strenuous method to harm Qin Shi and her mother? Couldn't he just kill them? Could it be that he had some other purpose? Of course, Lin Yi could only think about it in his heart, he wouldn't say it out loud. For Qin Shi and her mother, Lin Yi was only familiar with them, not close. Lin Yi couldn't just blame Grandpa Zhu. Now, it seemed that Qin Shi and Grandpa Zhu's relationship was very good. If he said it out loud, Qin Shi might not believe him. The water purifier isn't clean? Then we can't use it anymore. Seems like the things we picked up aren't reliable. Mrs. Chen didn't think too much. After all, we aren't professionals. Since Lil Yi found the problem, then we don't need it anymore. Chapter 1272. Grandpa Zhu's goal? All right. Mother Chen naturally believed what Lin Yi said. Lin Yi was a doctor. How could a doctor's words be false? After dinner at Qin Shi's house, Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao said their goodbyes. Mrs. Chen and Qin Shi sent Lin Yi off warmly, telling Lin Yi to come visit again when he was free. Lin Yi agreed with a smile. After leaving Qin Shi's house, the smile on Lin Yi's face suddenly disappeared, becoming very gloomy. Lin Yi, honey, what's wrong? Xiao Xiao asked, noticing Lin Yi's weird expression. Mrs. Chen's cancer is man-made. There's something wrong with that water purifier. Lin Yi didn't need to hide it from Xiao Xiao. There's something wrong with that water purifier. I know it's that Grandpa Zhu. Xiao Xiao wasn't an idiot. Lin Yi had said that there was something wrong with that Grandpa Zhu back at the seaside, and Lin Yi had tested her again today. Naturally, Xiao Xiao knew that Lin Yi was suspecting Grandpa Zhu. It's him. I just can't figure out what his purpose is. A peak late-phase mystic class master, did he have nothing better to do? Poison a single mother? Is he out of his mind, or was it really unintentional? Because Qin Shi also said that the water purifier was picked up by Grandpa Zhu when he was picking up junk, but after changing the filter, it continued to be used. As for whether there were other problems in the water purifier, they were not professionals, so naturally they couldn't tell. Then why is Qin Shi fine? Xiao Xiao quickly thought of Qin Shi. That's what I'm curious about. Did Qin Shi take the antidote, or is her resistance stronger? Lin Yi shook his head and said, the harmful substances in the water purifier can't cause cancer in a day. This is a long-term process. Eating it for a long time will cause cancer, so I'm surprised that Qin Shi is fine. Maybe she's young and she doesn't eat at home often? Is that why? Xiao Xiao asked. It's possible, but that Grandpa Zhu is very suspicious. Lin Yi said, but I don't know what he's planning, so I can only take it one step at a time and come to see Qin Shi often. And that Grandpa Zhu, I feel uncomfortable just looking at him. Xiao Xiao said, we can't let him hurt Qin Shi. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the fundraiser. Before the fundraiser, there was a singing competition. After the preliminary and semi-finals, the school had selected the best soloists and choirs. Today the finals would be held on the school's sports field. Because of the participation of members of the public, In order to ensure the safety of the students and the smooth progress of the donation event, the school's leaders had already notified the police, and early this morning, Lingshan brought a group of police officers to the school to maintain order. Yufeng wasn't planning on donating at the event, but he didn't think that Lingshan would bring a team to maintain order in the school. He had to do something. Lingshan, I didn't think you'd come too. Yufeng smiled as he walked over to greet Lingshan. Sorry, I'm on official business right now, I don't have time to chat with you. Please help yourself. Lingshan looked at Yufeng, not planning on talking to him at all. Lingshan was annoyed to death with Yufeng, and she didn't think that he'd come over to talk to her today. The fundraiser hasn't started yet, right? Miss Song, don't tell me that you don't even have time to talk? Yufeng didn't seem to understand the meaning behind Lingshan's words at all as he continued to stand there. Since it hasn't started yet, shouldn't Mr. Yu go prepare? Why don't you contribute to charity later? You're not planning on being stingy, are you? Lingshan didn't like Yufeng, but she didn't mind him donating a sum of money to her. Haha, I've actually prepared for it. I'm very supportive of charity. I didn't think that Miss Song was a supporter of charity as well. Yufeng smiled, thinking how much should he donate? Since Lingshan liked people with love, naturally he should donate more. If he donated too little, Lingshan would think that he was stingy, but if he donated too much, Yufeng wouldn't be satisfied. Why should he just waste his money like that? If it weren't for Lingshan, he wouldn't even donate a single cent. Seeing Yufeng walk over to Lingshan, Lin Yi frowned. Did this guy know Lingshan? Lin Yi didn't know who Yufeng was, and he didn't know about the marriage between House Yu and House Song. Lingshan didn't tell Lin Yi because Lin Yi didn't have any feelings for her. She didn't want to embarrass herself and let Lin Yi push her to Yufeng. Huaijuan, on the other hand, thought that Lin Yi already knew about this when he was on the phone with Lin Yi, so he didn't bring it up. Lin Yi wasn't planning on letting House Yu go, so why would he bring up Lin Yi's relationship with Lingshan and House Yu? It would make him look like a busybody. So when Lin Yi saw Yufeng talking to Lingshan, he was suspicious. Yufeng, on the other hand, didn't know about the relationship between Lin Yi and Lingshan. Otherwise, he wouldn't be talking to Lingshan in front of Lin Yi. He didn't know that his actions had exposed his identity. Soon, the finals of the singing competition began. Tang Yun and Meng Yao walked up the stage in their best outfits. The two were about the same height and their beauty levels were about the same as well. The moment they got on stage, it caused a commotion. Tang Yun was already taken and Meng Yao was the daughter of a rich family. Although the boys knew that their chances weren't high, it didn't stop them from loving beauty. Even if they couldn't take it for themselves, they could at least take a look, right? The people who were invited to attend the fundraising event also began to discuss the background of the two girls. Keeping students as mistresses wasn't a secret among the rich. Meng Yao and Tang Yun, these two absolute beauties, attracted the attention of the rich. It wasn't a surprise. The two of them were already beautiful and with makeup they were even more beautiful. It would be strange if these people weren't tempted. However, after knowing that Meng Yao was Peng Zhan's daughter, they shifted their attention to Tang Yun. Chapter 1273. Xie Yufeng's tragedy again, but Tang Yun was different. No one knew who she was, so in everyone's eyes she was just a commoner school beauty. But in reality, Tang Yun was indeed a commoner school beauty. And so, some people started to be tempted, and Fatty Shin was one of them. Fatty Shin came from a mining background. There were a lot of mines near Songshan City. Fatty Shin had made a lot of money in the past few years. He was a real rich man. After he had money, he began to enjoy life. He had played with countless famous models and small celebrities. But after he got tired of playing with them, Fatty Shin was more inclined to play with young and pure girls like Duan Ying. After Fatty Shin memorized Tang Yun's name, his eyes never left Tang Yun's body. The more he looked, the more he drooled. Boss, so, how much do you think this girl Tang Yun would cost? Fatty Shin looked at Zhou Qiandi lecherously. Fatty Shin also had some underworld background. These days, if a miner didn't have any underworld background, he would definitely be bullied and wouldn't be able to control the situation. So, in order to get closer to Zhou Qiandi, Fatty Shin purposely sat beside him to get closer to him. What do you mean how much? Zhou Qiandi was watching a performance. Today he heard that Hayashi Lin's girlfriend was hosting a charity event, so he ran to the school to show his support. Ever since his son said that he had a relationship with Lin Yi, Zhou Qiandi was very happy. He didn't have to be afraid anymore and he had the energy to gamble and pick up girls. Today was the perfect opportunity to please Lin Yi, so naturally he wouldn't let it go. Tang Yun, that girl is so pretty with big breasts and a round butt. TSK, if I could touch it, it would be so good. Boss, so what do you think if I get her and play 3P? Fatty Shin squinted his eyes and said, What? 3P? I'll play your mom. Zhou Qindi jumped up, raised his arm and gave Fatty Shin a big slap. Motherfucker, are you trying to kill me? I don't know you. You bastard, why don't you go die? Zhou Qindi was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. It wasn't easy for her to mend her relationship with Hayashi Lin, but this guy actually suggested that she play Lin Yi's wife with him? Don't you want to die? If the omnipotent Hayashi Lin were to hear this and suspect him, then he would really be out of luck. In the past, Zhou Qindi had a good impression of Fatty Shin. Fatty Shin was smart and knew how to do things. He knew how to be filial to Zhou Qindi, so he had a good impression of him. But today he saw that this guy was a fool. Zhou Qindi quickly drew a line between them. Zhou boss, why did you hit me? Fatty Shin was stunned by Zhou Qindi's sudden attack. I know, Zhou boss, you are interested in Tang Yun, right? Don't worry, I won't fight with you, you can have her for yourself. Fatty Shin's voice wasn't soft, and when Zhou Qindi was beating up people, he made a lot of noise. Many people were looking at him, so Fatty Shin's words were heard by them. Zhou Qindi almost exploded when he heard Fatty Shin's words. Your mother. Do you want to kill me first? When did I fall in love with Tang Yun? Is she someone I can fall in love with? She is Hayashi Lin's wife. I would rather stab my eyes blind than look at her. I like your mother. Zhou Qindi kicked Fatty Shin's body. I am a decent person, how can I fall in love with someone else? Tang Yun is like a goddess, do you think I am worthy? Not to mention you, who is worse than a pig or a dog? Zhou Qindi kicked Fatty Shin's body. Although Fatty Shin's body was fat, he didn't dare to fight back. He didn't know why Zhou Qindi was beating him like crazy. However, gradually, Fatty Shin understood something. From Zhou Qindi's words, could it be that Tang Yun was someone with a powerful background? Following the conflict, Song Lingshan quickly walked over. Mr. Zhou, what are you doing? How can you hit people so casually? If you don't want to participate in the charity event, you can choose to leave. Song Lingshan warned. Officer Song, we are just playing around. If you don't believe me, you can ask Fatty Shin, right? Zhou Qindi saw that Song Lingshan had come, so he could only stop. Although he hated Fatty Shin, he couldn't just leave before the charity event started. Wouldn't it be a waste of his effort? Yeah, Officer Song. We are just playing around. Fatty Shin said with his mouth leaking air. No matter how wronged he was, he didn't dare to say anything. Although he was strong compared to Zhou Qindi, he was still far from it. You old bastard, how dare you? Get out of my sight. Xie Yufeng saw that Song Lingshan had come to stop the fight between Zhou Qindi and Fatty Shin, so he came to save the damsel in distress. Xie Yufeng only wanted to show off in front of Song Lingshan, so he didn't think much and ran over, blocking in front of Song Lingshan. Zhou Qindi and Fatty Shin didn't dare to do anything to Song Lingshan, but Fatty Shin wouldn't be polite to this bastard who came out of nowhere. He had been kicked by Zhou Qindi before and he had a stomach full of anger. Now that someone came to help him vent his anger, he naturally wouldn't let him go so easily. Where did you come from, kid? Who are you telling to get out of my sight? We are just playing around, what does that have to do with you? Fatty Shin looked at Xie Yufeng and asked coldly. You Fatty, you're not happy? Xie Yufeng didn't want to show any weakness in front of Song Lingshan. Seeing that Fatty Shin dared to talk back to him, he was furious. You are here to donate money, we welcome you, but if you want to fuck us, don't blame me for being rude. Slap. Fatty Shin slapped Xie Yufeng's face. Who do you think you are? What are you doing here? Officer Song, there is an idiot here, are you going to do something about it? You dare hit me? Xie Yufeng was furious. He was a mystic, the young master of House Yu, and he was slapped in the face by a fatty? If he didn't kill him, it would be a waste of his strength. But the next moment Xie Yufeng froze. This wasn't right, they were in school. Not outside of school. In school, in front of Lin Yi, he had been hiding his strength, he couldn't reveal it. Before, because of Song Lingshan, Xie Yufeng subconsciously forgot about this, thinking that he was the young master of House Yu, not the Xie Yufeng in school. But now he suddenly remembered that he was in school. Chapter 1274. So what if I hit you? Who do you think you are? How dare you talk nonsense in front of me, Fatty Shin? Fatty Shin sent another slap at Yufeng's face. Yufeng was shocked and angry, but there was nothing he could do. He pointed at Fatty Shin. You. He said the word you 3 times but didn't do anything else. Evidently, Yufeng didn't dare to act rashly. Officer Song, look at this. This is such a busybody. Why didn't you take her away? I was sparring with Boss So, learning from each other. What does this have to do with him? Is he an intern from your police station? Fatty Shin looked at Ling Shan and pushed all the responsibility of hitting the man away. Ling Shan didn't know what to do. She didn't like Xie Yufeng in the first place and she had no intention of protecting him. Since Fatty Shin had said so, Ling Shan nodded and said, Master Yu, let the police handle this. You should focus on preparing for the donation. Xie Yufeng looked at Fatty Shin coldly and thought to himself, don't let me see you again or else I will beat you into a cripple. Yufeng humphed coldly and left. Staying here would only make things awkward. If you two want to spar, go outside and spar. Here, donate. Boss So and Boss Shin, you two are so active, do you want to donate more money? Ling Shan said. Of course. Officer Song, I was going to donate even if you didn't say anything. I'm going to donate 500,000. Tiandi said generously. Ling Shan couldn't help but be taken aback. She said all that just to make Tiandi and Fatty Shin bleed, but from what she saw, these mafia bosses would at most donate 10 or 20,000. She didn't expect Tiandi to donate 500,000 all at once. Ling Shan froze. She had to re-evaluate her impression of Tiandi. Did this guy turn over a new leaf? And he's become passionate about charity and public welfare? That would be a blessing for Song's Han. Fatty Shin was also stunned. He didn't think that Zhou Tiandi would be so generous to donate 500,000. He came here just to join in the fun. He planned to donate 10 or 20,000, but since Zhou Tiandi said so, Fatty Shin didn't want to donate too little. He said, I'm also going to donate 100,000. Ling Shan's face was a little weird. She'd wanted to find an excuse to kick these two out, but it seemed like it was better to keep them around. Since these two were so compassionate and had decided to donate so much money, Ling Shan naturally wouldn't let them go. Looks like the two bosses are quite compassionate. I won't disturb you then, you guys can continue. Ling Shan nodded and left. Donating money was fine, sparring if you wanted to. After sitting down, Fatty Shin asked, Boss So, what happened to you just now? What did I say wrong? You almost got me killed. Thank goodness I made myself clear in time and Hayashi Lin didn't blame me, otherwise I would have died because of you. Tiandi humphed coldly. Hayashi Lin? Who is that? Fatty Shin froze. In Song's Han there aren't many people that I, Zhou Tiandi, am afraid of. I'm just giving him some face, there's no need to be afraid. But there's one person I'm afraid of, and that's Lin-Yi Hayashi Lin. Tiandi said, this person is too scary. In Song's Han, this person is not someone you can offend. Fatty Shin froze. Lin-Yi? I've never heard of him? You don't need to have heard of him. At your level, you won't be able to come into contact with such a powerful person. But remember, those two girls on the stage don't have any bad intentions or you will die a horrible death. You will really die, don't think that I'm just trying to scare you. Tiandi said seriously. I understand. Fatty Shin quickly nodded. No matter what, he remembered Tiandi's words. In the future, if he met any Lin-Yi or Hayashi Lin, he would try to avoid them as much as possible. If even Tiandi was afraid of them, then they were definitely not easy to get along with. The fundraising event had begun. The voting power was just to give these celebrities a sense of balance, but in reality they didn't get any substantial benefits. Thank you all for your enthusiastic participation. The top 10 of the singing competition has been decided. Now let's welcome director Wang Jifeng to announce the winners. Tang Yun didn't have stage fright after a short period of time, but when she saw director Wang Jifeng walking over, she felt that life was really strange. The scene where she accidentally poured the bucket on Wang Jifeng was still vivid in her mind. Now she was the host and her relationship with Wang Jifeng wasn't bad either. Tang Yun didn't think that there would be a day where she would become the center of attention in school. In fact, who didn't want to be the center of attention? In the past, Tang Yun was afraid. She didn't have a sense of security. She was afraid that her beauty would bring her trouble, so she had to keep a low profile. Even so, it still caused some unnecessary trouble. But now that she was with Lin-Yi, no matter how high profile she was, no one would dare to do anything to her. The guest seats were very close to the tea stage, and Tiandi and Fatty Shin were sitting at the very front. How could Tang Yun not hear their conversation? Seeing Tiandi beat up Fatty Shin, Tang Yun thought it was funny. But the truth was, these bad people were afraid of Lin-Yi and she benefited a lot from it. The list of winners was read out. The top 10 winners received a certificate and prize money from Wang Jifeng. However, because it was a fundraising event, the winner of the first place announced on the spot that he would donate his prize money to the children of the orphanage. With the first winner taking the lead, the other winners also generously donated their prize money. Among them, there was a rich student who donated an extra 2,000 yuan, which received a warm applause. After this process, it was time for the free donation. First, it was the students and teachers who donated, and finally, it was the celebrities who donated. Xie Yufeng didn't donate with the students because he wanted to be in the limelight. He waited until Meng Yao announced that the celebrities would donate, and then he stood up. Originally, Tiandi wanted to be the first to stand up. He was here to support Lin Yi, so he wanted to show his initiative and enthusiasm. But he didn't expect that Xie Yufeng would take the initiative. Chapter 1275. Xie Yufeng was pissed. Do I have to queue up to donate? Xie Yufeng wanted to be the first to donate and leave a good impression on Lingshan, but he didn't expect to make a fool out of himself. Fatty Shin ruined his plan again. At this time, the students who didn't know what was going on were discussing among themselves. Isn't Xie Yufeng a student? Why is he donating with people from the society? A student said. That's right. Is he trying to show off that he's rich and that he's a celebrity? Another student said. Xie Yufeng's face turned ugly. He wanted to show off, but he didn't expect it to turn out like this. Xie Yufeng looked at Fatty Shin with hatred. Forget it, Fatty Shin. Let someone else donate first. Everyone is giving their love, so it doesn't matter who donates first. Zhou Qiandi didn't rush to donate anymore. Since something like this happened and the young man was already on the stage, if he rushed to donate first, then Lin Yi would see that he was trying to flatter Lin Yi. It would be a bit pretentious, so he might as well let him go first. You're lucky you donate first. Fatty Shin let go of Xie Yufeng and said. Xie Yufeng's face was full of resentment. What was going on? He just donated and he got himself into trouble. Donating was supposed to be a very glorious thing, and Xie Yufeng wanted to use this opportunity to show off his style, but now, there was a fatty standing next to him as if he was supervising him, urging him to hurry up. This made Xie Yufeng go crazy. For the orphans of the orphanage to have a good life, I've decided to donate 200,000. Xie Yufeng walked up to the stage proudly and said to Tang Yun and Meng Yao. Thank you for your support, Xie Yufeng. Tang Yun smiled sweetly and nodded to Xie Yufeng. Although she didn't like this Xie Yufeng, Tang Yun was the host, and Xie Yufeng was the donor. She couldn't look at him with emotion. Originally, Xie Yufeng wanted to take the microphone and say a few words. He had donated 200,000, and from Xie Yufeng's point of view, 200,000 was the highest amount that the arena had ever donated. He wanted to show off in front of Lingshan, but just as he was about to ask Tang Yun for the microphone, he heard Fatty Shin say, 200,000 and you still want to speak? Hurry up and go down. Don't waste any more time. Boss Zhou is going to donate 500,000 yuan later. Fatty Shin's voice was very loud, and it was heard through the microphone in Tang Yun's hand. It made all the students present burst into laughter. Yufeng felt his face heated. This was the most embarrassing moment he'd ever been in his entire life. The last few times he'd been embarrassed, Lin Yi had seen it, but it was only in a small area. Most people didn't see it, but today not only did he do it in front of the whole school, he did it in front of Lingshan. Yufeng felt that if he didn't say anything, he'd be a coward. However, when he looked at the tall and sturdy Fatty Shin, he felt that if he didn't use his qi, he wouldn't be his opponent. So, Xie Yufeng could only take a step back and vent his anger on Tang Yun. Why didn't you turn off the microphone? Do you want to die? Yufeng's voice went through the microphone in Tang Yun's hand, and it spread to the whole school. Instantly, the whole school was in an uproar. Although some people thought that Yufeng's actions were funny, they only felt that it was funny. But now they looked down on Yufeng. Why was this person so uncultured? Scolding the MC? What did it have to do with the MC? Is this kid crazy? Is he crazy? Why is he acting like a mad dog? He made a fool of himself and now he's scolding others? Student A asked curiously. Hey, you can't tell, right? How is he crazy? He's very smart. He's bullying the weak and afraid of the strong. He didn't dare to do anything to that fatty, so he started scolding the MC. Student B explained. But this MC, isn't she Lin Yi's girlfriend? This Xie Yufeng is going to be unlucky. Student C said sympathetically. As expected, they were right. From the moment Tang Yun was scolded to the moment Lin Yi jumped on the stage, Lin Yi kicked Yufeng's chest, and kicked him off the stage. After that, Lin Yi didn't stop. He didn't even say anything to Tang Yun and he went back to his seat. This was the first time Lin Yi had a direct conflict with Yufeng in a public place. Before, Lin Yi didn't know Yufeng's background, and Yufeng didn't do anything that crossed Lin Yi's bottom line, so Lin Yi didn't do anything to him. He let him stay in the school, but today Yufeng's scolding made Lin Yi angry. Your wife is the one. Even if she is, she's the only one who's flirting with me. And so Linny didn't hold back and kicked Yufeng off the stage. Although Linny didn't know how Yufeng broke through and became a mystic mid-phase in just a few days, Linny was already a mystic mid-phase peak. Naturally, he wasn't afraid of him. If he wanted to fight, then fight. Linny couldn't kill him. Yufeng didn't think that Linny would kick him off the stage like this. Yufeng froze. But then he realized that the MC on the stage was Lin Yi's girlfriend? He didn't know what to say and scolded her, and now Lin Yi was here for revenge? Yufeng fell off the stage and he had a murderous urge. He decided to discuss it with his father tonight. He wanted to kill Lin Yi. Of course, in school, in front of everyone, especially in front of Ling Shan, Yufeng had no choice but to hold it in for now. Even if he was a disciple of House Yu, killing someone in school was enough to cause him trouble. Yufeng stood up gloomily, but he didn't have the face to stay in school anymore. He walked out of the school. 200,000. Not only did he not get anything good, but he also got himself a bad name. Seeing Yufeng leave the school with his tail between his legs, the students mocked him and some cursed him. None of them had anything good to say. The conflict between Lin Yi and Xie Yufeng happened in a very short period of time, so it didn't cause too much of a commotion. With Yufeng's gloomy departure, everyone's attention returned to the event. Chapter 1276. Thank you, Xie Yufeng, for the 200,000 donation. I would like to thank him on behalf of the orphanage. Meng Yao pulled back the atmosphere of the event with a smile, as if she didn't see Yufeng leaving with his tail between his legs. Next, Zhou Qiandi went on stage representing Qiandi Entertainment Group, and donated 500,000 to the orphanage. The audience cheered for him. Compared to Xie Yufeng's 200,000, Zhou Qiandi's donation was a huge amount. Thank you, Chairman Zhou. Tang Yun knew that he was Zhou Ruoming's father, but thinking about how respectful Zhou Ruoming was to her now, her resentment was gone. Tang Yun even felt grateful to Zhou Ruoming. If he didn't bully her, she wouldn't be in contact with Lin Yi. In the end, he was her matchmaker. No need to thank me, it's our responsibility to help the orphanage. Madam Tang Yun is hosting this event, so I'm willing to pay for it. Zhou Qiandi said this to Lin Yi. It was obvious that he was supporting Tang Yun. If it weren't for Lin Yi, he wouldn't have donated so much money. Haha, I would like to thank Chairman Zhou again. Tang Yun smiled. She wasn't stupid and naturally understood what Zhou Qiandi meant. Zhou Qiandi donated and left the stage happily. Today's mission was complete. Next, many famous local entrepreneurs also went on stage, but the amount wasn't as much as Zhou Qiandi. It ranged from 10,000 to 50,000, but it wasn't a huge amount. This was within Tang Yun and Ming Yao's expectations. After all, this was just a small charity event organized by the school. It was already good enough that these people were willing to donate because of Peng Zhan. Only Zhou Qiandi donated because of Lin Yi. Of course, Lin Yi didn't inform Fatty Lai. Lin Yi didn't want to do this, so Fatty Lai could just use the name of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company to donate to the orphanage. He didn't need to go through the school's event. Doing good deeds was not for others to see, and Lin Yi did not want to gain any false reputation. Now, let's enter the next segment of the event, the auction. Tang Yun announced the next segment after calculating the total amount of donations. The items in this auction are all donated by everyone, and the proceeds will be donated to the orphanage. Meng Yao said. Meng Yao might have said that, but most of the auction items were donated by Meng Yao, and some were taken out by Peng Zhan. These were the things that the tycoons cared about the most. As the richest man in Songshan, Peng Zhan must have a lot of treasures in his house. The previous donations were just an appetizer. The real main course was this auction. Expensive calligraphy and paintings as well as rare treasures were the favorites of these celebrities. The first auction item is a painting donated by the principal, Ding Binggong. It was created by Ding Binggong, and everyone knows about his reputation. Tang Yun introduced the first auction item. Since this wasn't a formal auction, and there were no big screens or picture books, Tang Yun could only say it out loud. Yushu and Xiao Xiao were in charge of displaying the items. Ding Binggong was a painter and he wasn't that famous in the country, but he was a famous person in the academic world. His paintings were quite good and many people in Songshan sought after them. Of course, the price wasn't very high either. The most expensive one sold for 50,000, and that was an award-winning work. The painting that was being auctioned right now, although it was painstakingly drawn, wasn't worth as much as an award-winning work. 2,000. The starting price was 1,000 and soon someone raised the price to 2,000. 3,000. The price continued to rise until it reached 8,000, and it was taken by an entrepreneur. Of course, 8,000 was already enough to satisfy Ding Bing Gong. The price of his paintings was maintained at around 5,000, and 8,000 was already a high price. The following items were some birthday gifts Meng Yao received, some expensive handicrafts from Peng Zhan, and some donated by Yushu. Of course, there were donations from normal students and teachers as well, but most of them weren't worth much. 1,800 was already a lot. Only Meng Yao's root carvings and Peng Zhan's inkstone were sold at a high price. Obviously, these celebrities at the scene were also people who knew what was good and what was valuable. They could tell at a glance what was good and what was valuable. The next item is the last item of this auction. Tang Yun picked up the list and read, "The last item is a kiss donated by Meng Yao." Tang Yun paused after reading the auction list. The miss on the side froze as well. Who added her own kiss? Who added this? What kind of joke was this? But, seeing Shu winking at her from the side, Meng Yao understood what was going on. The list of items had always been organized by Shu and Xiao Xiao, and the auction wasn't very formal, so after the list was organized, Meng Yao and Tang Yun didn't look at it in advance and read it out directly. At this time, the words had already been said, and Meng Yao couldn't go back on her words. Although this was related to her reputation, an auction was an auction. Who would believe it if she said it was a joke? Even if someone would believe it, Meng Yao didn't want to embarrass herself. Meng Yao really wanted to beat the crap out of her when she saw Shu winking at her. This Shu was asking for a beating. What the hell was she doing? However, before Meng Yao could say anything, Yushu ran over and grabbed the microphone from Tang Yun's hand. "School bell, Meng Yao's kiss, the auction starts now. The starting price is 10,000, start bidding now." Meng Yao was furious as she glared at Yushu. She didn't know what Yushu was trying to do. Was this a joke? However, Meng Yao wasn't stupid. She thought of a possibility. Could it be that Yushu prepared it for Lin Yi? To let Lin Yi get a kiss from her? Thinking about little Shu's usual behavior, this guess was indeed possible. Meng Yao was embarrassed and angry at the same time, but she was relieved. It was fine if it was taken by Lin Yi, but if it was taken by someone else, Meng Yao would rather die. Chapter 1277. Wadash, the audience was in an uproar, their eyes wide open as they stared at Meng Yao in shock. They didn't think that the last item would be so explosive and novel. She was the school's princess, the idol of many boys. However, most of the students also knew that they would not be able to enjoy this kiss. After all, the starting price of 10,000 yuan was enough to make people flinch. Moreover, this was only the starting price. In a while, the price would increase to a terrifying number. As a board member of the school, Peng Zhan naturally attended this fundraiser as well. He was stunned when he heard that Yushu was auctioning off Meng Yao's kiss. What was the meaning of this? Judging from his daughter's reaction, it seemed like she didn't know. Was it Shu, the troublemaker, who did this again? Peng Zhan felt a headache coming on. If this kiss was won by Lin Yi, his daughter wouldn't say anything. But if it was won by someone else, then he'd be screwed. That was why Peng Zhan felt a headache coming on when he saw this. If Lin Yi wasn't going to make a move, then he'd have to do it himself. It was natural for a daughter to kiss her father, it wasn't a big deal. Bing Gong and Jifeng looked at each other as well. This was a high school and auctioning off a kiss was indeed a little overboard. But this was a public charity event after all, and it wasn't their place to stop it. Moreover, the person in question was Peng Zhan's daughter, and if Peng Zhan wasn't doing anything, what could they possibly do? Jiang Wen's eyes lit up as he sat below the stage. He wasn't here for charity. He only had one goal, and that was to see Meng Yao. He heard that Meng Yao was the host, and so he brought Tai Zhao to Songshan's first school to find a seat among the audience. Jiang Wen, on the other hand, wasn't very interested in the previous auction items. As the young master of house in a family that supported the Firewolf gang, he had quite a collection. Many of them were smuggled in and treasured, so he didn't really care about the ordinary items. But this last item made Jiang Wen's eyes light up. Bro, Meng Yao's kiss. Isn't this what you want? I think this is a great opportunity for you. Tai Zhao chimed in happily from the side. But Meng Yao hasn't been very nice to me lately. If I get this kiss, won't she be happy? Jiang Wen was hesitating now that things had come to this point. How could that be? Since Meng Yao put her kiss up for auction, she has to accept that someone else will buy it. Tai Zhao said. Why would she put it up for auction if she wasn't mentally prepared? And looking at this boxing arena, the only one who has the strength and is willing to spend money to get this kiss is you, brother, and other people wouldn't like her either. They would definitely feel that it wasn't worth it to spend so much money on a kiss, but you're different, brother. That makes sense. Jangwon nodded. So you're saying that it's prepared for me then? Not for that, Linny? How is that possible? If they really wanted Linny to kiss her, they could have just done it at home. Why are they auctioning it off? They're just looking for trouble. Taizao analyzed. You're right. Then I'll bid for it. Jangwon nodded, full of fighting spirit. This is Yao Yao's first kiss. Yushu continued to add fuel to the fire. Anyone want to bid? 10,000 is so cheap. How much? Jangwon asked softly as he looked at Taizao. This wasn't a good price. If he gave too little, it'd seem like he was looking down on Meng Yao, and if he gave too much, it'd seem like he was a big spender. How about 50,000? Not too much, not too little? That's so expensive, I don't think anyone will fight with you. Taizao said after some hesitation. All right. Jangwon raised his hand. I'll give you 50,000. Meng Yao frowned. She wasn't expecting Jangwon to be a part of this, and this made her feel a little troubled. What was Shu doing? What if Jangwon got the kiss? But Meng Yao couldn't lose her temper on stage. She was Peng Zhan's daughter and the host of the fundraiser. What would others think of her if she flipped out on the spot? Tang Yun was the one who announced the item, and others would think that she was unhappy with Tang Yun, and Yushu was adding fuel to the fire. What if she fell out with her best friend? Even if she explained that she didn't know about the kiss, who would believe her? Someone's bid 50,000, anyone else? Yushu didn't expect Yao Yao's kiss to be sold for 50,000. That was a lot of money. 60,000. Linny didn't know what Yushu was up to, but it was obvious that the miss didn't want to give the kiss to Jangwon. As her bodyguard and live-in friend, he had no choice but to make a move. 60,000. Someone has bid 60,000. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? That brave and handsome guy from before? Yushu looked at Jangwon. Jangwon saw Yushu's gaze and heard Yushu call him a brave and handsome guy. He felt good about himself all of a sudden, thinking that Yushu was hinting that the kiss was tailor-made for him. That made him even more excited. Otherwise, why would Yushu call him a brave and handsome guy? After all, Meng Yao liked brave people the most. Could it be that Yushu wanted him to be with Meng Yao? With that thought, Jangwon was filled with fighting spirit. He stood up and shouted, 100,000. I'll bid 100,000. Wah dash, the crowd was shocked again. One kiss was worth 100,000, wasn't that too shocking? But in fact, 100,000 wasn't the highest price. The guys who were fantasizing about it gave up. Although they liked Meng Yao, 100,000 for a kiss was too high a price. 200,000. Linny stretched out his hand and said faintly. Although Linny didn't know if the miss would be embarrassed if he won the kiss, he knew that the miss would be unhappy if Jangwon won the kiss. Although the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Company's funds were tight, Lin Yi could still take out 200,000. Other things aside, the pocket money that Peng Zhan gave him was enough for 200,000. But why did it feel so awkward to use the money that Peng Zhan gave him to buy a kiss from his daughter? Chapter 1278. Jangwon was pissed when he heard Lin Yi's second bid. He couldn't help but rage. You're just a little bodyguard and you're going against me? How much money do you have? Peng Zhan gave it to you, didn't he? Using it to buy Meng Yao's kiss? Are you an idiot? Yeah. Taizao nodded. This guy doesn't know his place. And bro, you can kill him with money if you want. That's right, you want to compete with me and Jangwon? What a joke. Jangwon's underground arena had been making a lot of money recently, and it was a profitable business. Jangwon had made a lot of money, and now was the time to be rich. He stood up and said, 300,000, I'll pay 300,000. Someone's paying 300,000. Yushu said excitedly. 300,000, anyone higher? With that, Yushu gave Xiao Xiao a look. Xiao Xiao knew what Yushu meant immediately. The two were of the same mind as expected of a troublemaker duo. One look was all it took to know what the other was thinking. Xiao Xiao sneakily took out her phone and sent a text to Lin Yi. Lin Yi, honey, you can raise the price, but you have to let Jangwon win. Lin Yi was about to bid when his phone rang. Lin Yi took out his phone and looked at the text, pausing. He didn't know what was going on, but he knew that Xiao Xiao had something up her sleeves. No matter how messed up she was with Yushu, she wouldn't joke about Meng Yao's kiss. Lin Yi smiled and raised his hand. 350,000. Lin Yi was going to say 500,000, but after seeing Xiao Xiao's text, he changed it to 350,000. He didn't want to scare Jangwon off. Lin Yi starting to raise the price by 50,000, he's out of money. Tai Zhao said gleefully. That's for sure, I have to win this time. Jiang Wen smiled and stood up. 400,000. 400,000? Lin Yi felt that this was already a very high price. He estimated that Jiang Wen's mental capacity should be around 500,000, and so Lin Yi stood up after some hesitation. 450,000. 500,000. Jiang Wen said without hesitation. But Lin Yi didn't know if he should continue or not. He was afraid that Jiang Wen would give up and ruin Yushu and Xiao Xiao's plan. And so Lin Yi raised his head to look at Xiao Xiao, who was giving him a look. Lin Yi estimated that the price was about right, and so Lin Yi reached out his hand and sat back down, looking like he had no choice but to give up. In truth, Lin Yi didn't even want to do it. As far as Yushu and Xiao Xiao were concerned, 500,000 was already a lot. What if Jiang Wen gave up on the deal? Then he wouldn't be able to achieve his goal of tricking him. But just as Yushu was about to say, 500,000, is there anyone else? Someone else called out. The bidder was Chu Pengzhan. 800,000. Pengzhan reached out his hand and said faintly. To Pengzhan, 800,000 was nothing. He could do a good deed and get a kiss from his daughter at the same time. It was a good deal. Lin Yi, on the other hand, paused. He didn't expect Pengzhan to make a bid when he gave up. Lin Yi looked at the stunned Xiao Xiao and Yushu on the stage and he jumped in fright. He didn't want to let Pengzhan ruin these two girls' plans. And so, Lin Yi quickly forwarded Xiao Xiao's text to Pengzhan. Time was of the essence and Lin Yi didn't have time to edit it, so he sent Lin Yi hubby as well. But he was sure that Pengzhan would understand. Pengzhan's phone rang after he called out the price. Pengzhan sat back in his seat and pulled out his phone to look at the message. Chem? Pengzhan froze. Lin Yi, honey, you can raise the price, but you have to let Jiang Wen get it. Lin Yi said. Lin Yi hubby? Pengzhan blinked. How did he become Lin Yi's hubby? Did they send it to the wrong person? He quickly looked at the sender's number, but seeing that it was from Lin Yi, it must have been Lin Yi who forwarded it. It was probably either Tang Yin or Xiao Xiao who sent this message to Lin Yi, telling Lin Yi to give up. That meant that they didn't want to auction off Mingyao's kiss, but had a backup plan? At that thought, Pengzhan regretted that he'd rushed to bid. Wouldn't he scare Jiang Wen off? Plus, he'd increased the price by 300,000. Would Jiang Wen continue to increase the price? Indeed, Pengzhan's sudden bid did scare Jiang Wen. He didn't expect Pengzhan to suddenly bid. What was the meaning of this? Did he not want him to win Mingyao's kiss, or was he testing him? Why hadn't Pengzhan made a bid before? Why did Lin Yi make a bid when Pengzhan didn't? And so Jiang Wen hesitated. Tai Zhao, what do you think Pengzhan is doing? Why did he suddenly bid? And bro, I think that Pengzhan is testing you to see how much you care about Mengyao. Mengyao is a rich girl and 500,000 for a first kiss isn't that much. So, Pengzhan is trying to raise Mingyao's value and also to see if you really like Mengyao. Tai Zhao analyzed. If you really like her, you wouldn't care about spending a few 100,000. If you don't, you'd give up. That makes sense. Jiang Wen patted Tai Zhao's shoulder. Then tell me, why didn't Pengzhan bid when Lin Yi was bidding? Could it be that Pengzhan has high hopes for Lin Yi? Not necessarily. I think it was because Lin Yi was bidding and Pengzhan didn't need to bid. Now that Lin Yi gave up, he decided to bid. Tai Zhao said. I see. Then was that Mingyao's first kiss? Could it be that Yushu made it up? Didn't she say that Mengyao gave her first kiss to Lin Yi? Jiang Wen asked suspiciously. How can you believe Yushu's words? That girl is full of lies and we've been tricked by her all these years. I think that she might have given her first kiss to Lin Yi, but definitely not to Mengyao. Tai Zhao sighed. Can't you tell? Yushu seems to like Lin Yi a little, and she doesn't want to be separated from Mengyao. That's why she's always urging Mengyao to marry Lin Yi and be his first wife. Chapter 1279. Yushu thought that no one else was going to bid for 800,000, but her plan was ruined by Uncle Chu. She couldn't ask Xiao Xiao to send him a message, could she? Plus, Uncle Chu had already bid, so there was no point in hinting anymore. Jiang Wen hadn't made a bid yet. 1 million. Just when Yushu thought that it was over, Jiang Wen jumped up and bid again. Yushu was very happy. Wow, there's still a strong bidder. 1 million. Yao Yao's first kiss is already worth 1 million. Are there any higher bids? I don't think so, right? 1 million going once, 1 million going twice, 1 million going thrice. Sold. Congratulations, Jiang Wen, for getting Yao Yao's first kiss. Yushu couldn't wait any longer, as if she wanted to sell Mingyao's first kiss to Jiang Wen. Seeing how much Yushu wanted him to get Mingyao's first kiss, Jiang Wen was overjoyed. Even Ming Yao's best friend was helping him. He had a 90% chance of getting the miss this time. It seemed that Yushu had thought it through and wanted to push Meng Yao to him. Wow. Jiang Wen was so happy. He could feel that Yushu was helping him. Even Ping Zhan hadn't been able to make a bid before Yushu made the final call. Thank you for your support, everyone. Jiang Wen stood up. He couldn't wait any longer. Other auctioneers would just swipe their cards and transfer the money, and get the item on the spot. Jiang Wen, on the other hand, naturally wanted to get Ming Yao's first kiss right now. Now, let's welcome Jiang Wen to the stage to receive the item. Yushu replaced Tang Yun and Meng Yao as the host. Meng Yao, on the other hand, didn't know what to do. What was this Shu trying to do? Was she crazy? She wanted her to kiss Jiang Wen? Why didn't she just kill her? Meng Yao was anxious, but she couldn't get angry. She just frowned and didn't know what to do. Jiang Wen, on the other hand, couldn't wait any longer as he walked up the stage. Jiang Wen, please swipe your card first. Yushu handed the POS machine to Jiang Wen and said seriously. Okay. I'll do it now. Jiang Wen smiled happily as he took out his bank card and swiped $1 million over, whispering, "Thank you, Shu sis. Don't worry, if I manage to get Yao Yao, you'll get a lot of benefits." Thank you for your generosity, Jiang Wen classmate. Yushu, on the other hand, ignored Jiang Wen. Now let's welcome Jiang Wen to receive the auction items. Now? Can we do it now? Jiang Wen was very excited, salivating as he looked at Ming Yao's cold face. Of course, Yushu said. Yao Yao's first kiss is already yours. Waha, I won't hold back then. With that, Jiang Wen started walking towards Meng Yao. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. Did Shu lose her mind? How could he do such a thing? Kissing Jiang Wen? Jiang Wen? Where did you go? Over here, Xiao Xiao's classmate will give you the item. Yushu grabbed Jiang Wen and pulled him back. Xiao Xiao? Isn't it Meng Yao? Jiang Wen paused. Why would he want Xiao Xiao's first kiss? Xiao Xiao was pretty, but spending $1 million to buy a kiss from someone like her. Wasn't he an idiot? Here it is. Xiao Xiao took out a water sculpture from a box and held it in her hands. Jiang Wen classmate, this is for you, this is Ming Yao's first kiss. What? Jiang Wen paused. What first kiss is this? This is the first kiss. Xiao Xiao held up the sculpture. This is a sculpture made from Ming Yao's kiss mark. This is Ming Yao's first kiss. The sculpture in Xiao Xiao's hands looked like the hand marks of celebrities, except that this was a kiss mark made into the crystal. Was a souvenir. This is the first kiss? Jiang Wen looked at the sculpture in Xiao Xiao's hands and almost cried. $1 million for a piece of broken glass? Was there a mistake? This was the first kiss? Was this a scam? Yeah, isn't it written here? Ming Yao's first kiss. Yushu said, pointing at the sculpture in Xiao Xiao's hands. The crowd burst into laughters. All the students could see that Jiang Wen had been scammed. She was playing a word game, saying that this was Ming Yao's first kiss, but she didn't say that Ming Yao was the one who kissed him. That's... Jiang Wen's face was very ugly. He didn't think that Yushu would come up with something like this. He finally understood that he'd been played by Yushu again. Jiang Wen wanted to curse. He'd spent so much money to buy a piece of trash like this. Ming Yao finally understood why Yushu was auctioning off her kiss. It was all for Jiang Wen's sake. Even Ming Yao didn't remember this sculpture, but she seemed to have made it with Yushu in a shop back in middle school. She'd never looked at it again after that. She didn't know how Yushu found it, but she took it out and sold it for $1 million. With that thought, Ming Yao couldn't help but laugh. It seemed that she'd worried for nothing. Shu was really evil, tricking Jiang Wen like this. $1 million gone just like that. But while this sculpture was her own kiss mark, Ming Yao didn't really want to give it to Jiang Wen. This was her real kiss mark after all. What if Jiang Wen took it and did something disgusting to her? But in comparison, this was a result that Ming Yao could accept. If she was that worried, then Jiang Wen might take her picture and do something disgusting to her. Jiang Wen couldn't do anything, he'd been scammed, but he'd bought it willingly and he couldn't get mad on the stage. If he did, wouldn't he look petty? Ming Yao's impression of him would be even worse. And so, Jiang Wen could only accept his fate. He walked over with an ugly smile on his face, taking the sculpture from Xiao Xiao's hands. But as soon as he touched it, it felt slippery and with a whoosh, it fell off the stage, shattering into pieces. Chapter 1280. Fuck. It was only then that Jiang Wen realized that the sculpture was covered in a slippery substance, and his hands were still feeling sticky and slippery. Jiang Wen was about to explode. What the hell was this? Sorry, I spilled some lubricant on it so it's a bit slippery. It's just that you broke it, it has nothing to do with me. Xiao Xiao said with an evil smile on her face. I. Jiang Wen's eyes widened as he clutched his chest. He was pissed to death. Lubricant? How could there be lubricant on the sculpture? This Xiao Xiao must have done it on purpose. Fuck. This girl was as bad as Yushu. He was screwed. Jiang Wen had been comforting himself with the fact that he bought a sculpture for $1 million, so be it. It was a broken piece of glass, but it was still Mingyao's kiss mark. He couldn't use it, but he could still go home and fantasize about it. However, this time it was great. It was directly smashed into pieces. There was not even a single thought left. It directly turned into a large pile of glass shards. Wow, Jiang Wen classmate, you're so generous. $1 million for a sound. Yushu said as she looked at Jiang Wen with admiration. Jiang Wen wanted to curse, but he knew that he was on a stage and Mengyao was watching. If he was too stingy, Mengyao would hate him even more. He had no choice but to cry and laugh. It's okay, ha. With that, Jiang Wen didn't have the face to stay on the stage anymore. He got off the stage and walked back to his seat with his head lowered. The audience didn't know that there was lubricant on the sculpture. They thought that Jiang Wen was angry that he bought $1 million for a broken piece of glass, and so he smashed it. He didn't want to smash it, so he pretended that he accidentally dropped it on the ground and broke it. Mengyao let out a breath of relief. Even she started to pity Jiang Wen. This poor guy meeting Yushu and Xiao Xiao was just his bad luck. These two girls were really ruthless too. Not only did they scam him of $1 million, they even went as far as to smash the sculpture. Mengyao, naturally, didn't believe that the lubricant was accidentally spilled on the sculpture. Xiao Xiao probably did it on purpose. Why didn't she warn Jiang Wen first? Something like this could have been avoided with just a reminder, so he must have purposely made Jiang Wen fall on the ground. Mengyao didn't have to worry about Jiang Wen doing anything bad with the crystal statue though. This made her feel much better. Xiao Xiao and Yushu, on the other hand, looked at each other, seeing the evil smirk in each other's eyes. Linny didn't know what to say as he looked at Jiang Wen's sad face. But Yushu and Xiao Xiao, these two girls were really something. Jiang Wen had no choice but to swallow his grievances. The fundraiser came to an end after Jiang Wen's high price. The total amount was close to $2 million, and to the orphanage it was a drop in the bucket. But that was all they could do, at least lessening the pressure on the orphanage. Linny could have told Lingshan not to be so strict on the theft, but Linny didn't do that. Lingshan had her own principles, and Linny didn't want her to change anything. After all, what Xiaoko was doing wasn't right. She could only continue to live in the dark and rely on herself. But even if it was $2 million, Xiaoko was already very happy. At the very least, this $2 million was enough to last him for a period of time if he continued to live such a simple and hard life. After getting kicked by Lin Yi, Yufeng rushed to his apartment in Songshan and called his father, Shuixing. He couldn't hold it in anymore, he had to teach Lin Yi a lesson. Phone? Why are you calling me now? Aren't you in school? Shuixing picked up the phone, confused. Dad, I got kicked by Lin Yi today and I can't hold it in anymore. I'm going to kill him. Yufeng screamed as soon as he picked up the phone. Oh. Shuixing paused. You got kicked by Lin Yi? What happened? It's like this. Yufeng told his father what happened today. I just casually cursed at his girlfriend and he suddenly came on stage and kicked me off. Don't you think that's too much? With Lin Yi's protective personality, it's not strange. But it's been so long and you still don't know Lin Yi's background, and you don't know what level Lin Yi's strength is at either. I'm worried that you'll get into trouble if you act rashly. Shuixing was a rather calm person, and he looked at the situation more holistically. Yufeng, the noble house meeting is starting soon, and it's best not to cause trouble now. House Zhao is so powerful, and the Xiao family has the hidden house Pai's help as well. Why aren't they causing trouble for Lin Yi? There's probably more to this than meets the eye. But I can't accept this. I've lost all my face today, and if I don't get it back, I won't be able to stay in school anymore. Yufeng said, unwilling to give up. That's something that can't be done. You have to learn to endure in order to achieve greatness. Shuixing sighed. House Yu used to be the strongest house in the world, but now that they have the support of House Pai, the Xiao family isn't much weaker than us, and the hidden House Zhao is even stronger than us. If they don't make a move, why should we be the ones to do it? If we don't handle this right and there really is some sort of master behind Lin Yi, then it'd be a disaster for House Yu. Annihilation? It can't be that serious, right? Don't we have the support of the hidden House Yu behind us? Yufeng jumped, calming down quite a bit. Chapter 1281. Yufeng sucked in a cold breath. So you're saying that Lin Yi's background might be really strong? Yes, that's why I didn't let you do anything rash. I've been talking to your brother these past few days and I know these secrets. I didn't have time to remind you. Shueishing said. Thank goodness you didn't act rashly. Man, so you're just going to give up like this? Yufeng wasn't too happy, but after hearing his father's words, he felt that things were getting serious. He was arrogant, but he wasn't an idiot. He knew that his father wouldn't lie to him. How about this? Don't look into Lin Yi's background for now. Focus on getting close to Lingshan, and I'll announce this decision during the Noble House meeting. It'll increase House Yu's power and influence in the Noble House meeting. Shueishing sighed. Now that Family Xiao has House Pai's support, they're threatening our position. If we let Family Xiao grow, then we might not be able to control the Noble House meeting and the ranking. So, let's put Lin Yi's matter aside for now. Alright, but Lingshan doesn't seem to like me, she's a little cold? Yufeng said, a little troubled. Then I won't go to school, I don't have the face to go there anymore. Alright, you don't have to go to school for now. We'll wait until the Noble House meeting is over and we confirm the position of the new generation of House Yu, then we'll go all out to deal with Lin Yi. It'll be easier that way, let him have his fun for a few days. Yufeng really wanted to cause trouble for Lin Yi, but Shueishing was stopping him. He could only give up on that thought, but he couldn't let it out. It was just that he was pissed off that he couldn't vent it out. Time flew by and Xiao Xiao's illness acted up again. Although it happened right in front of Lin Yi had to use half of his blood to wake her up. If it weren't for the fact that Lin Yi was a practitioner, he probably wouldn't have been able to hold on. Just as old Lin had said, Xiao Xiao's condition was getting worse and worse. Each time it happened, it was more severe than the last, and the cold energy in her body was getting more and more overbearing. A little bit of blood was enough to suppress it, but now it took more than half of his blood to be effective. This made Lin Yi's heart sink. If this continued, it would probably be all of his blood next time. Although Lin Yi had the art of dragon mastery to heal, Lin Yi didn't know if his blood would always be effective. Now he had developed a resistance to the cold yin qi. This time it was very obvious. But in order to reassure Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi still had a smile on his face when Xiao Xiao woke up, as if nothing had happened. I'm alive again? Xiao Xiao opened her eyes and looked at the nervous Lin Yi, Mengyao, Yushu and Tang Yun. Tang Yun had rushed to the villa as soon as she received Xiao Xiao's message, waiting for her to wake up. Haha, with me by your side of course you'll come back to life. Lin Yi smiled. I told you I won't let you die. Lin Yi felt like he was going against his will when he said that, but he had no other choice. He could only comfort Xiao Xiao like this. After all, it was more important for her to be in a good mood. I thought I wouldn't be able to come back to life this time. Xiao Xiao seemed to be quite open about it. I got my life back, thank you, Lin Yi honey. What are you thanking me for? Isn't it my duty to save you? Lin Yi smiled. Alright, let's get some rest, it's getting late. Tang Yun, why don't you sleep here tonight? There's a guest room upstairs? Lin Yi was very weak right now. He had half of his blood left, but he was holding on. He couldn't wait to enter the jade space to heal. Okay. Tang Yun could see Lin Yi's tiredness and nodded. Today was Friday and there was no school tomorrow. The day after tomorrow was Shirhan's concert, so it wasn't a bad idea for Tang Yun to stay here. But would Mengyao be willing? Then let's sleep together. My bed upstairs is very spacious. Yun, it's not like we've never slept together before. You're not shy, are you? Mengyao smiled. Of course not. Tang Yun shook her head. The four of them were very familiar with each other now, so there was no need to be shy. Tang Yun was tired as well. It was best to rest as soon as possible. Lin Yi didn't care about them. He returned to his room, exhausted, and channeled the art of dragon mastery to sleep. Xiao Xiao on the other hand was fine now. She sat up from the sofa. She seemed to be in a good state, but she wasn't in a good mood. What's wrong? Xiao Xiao? You don't look too happy? Tang Yun noticed that something was wrong with Xiao Xiao. Man. Xiao Xiao sighed. Yun sis, my body. I know. This time I thought I wouldn't be able to live anymore, but Lin Yi honey pulled me back from the gates of hell. But next time it won't be so simple. I don't know how long I can live with you guys. Don't talk nonsense. Didn't Lin Yi say that he has a way to cure you? Why are you thinking so much? Tang Yun didn't say anything on the surface, but her heart ached for no reason. She saw how Lin Yi had healed Xiao Xiao today. Xiao Xiao fainted in the living room, so Lin Yi didn't carry her back to the room. He quickly cut his wrist and used his blood to heal her. Tang Yun, the Miss, and Shu saw how much blood Lin Yi used. They saw the worry on Lin Yi's face as well. Lin Yi didn't say much, but anyone who wasn't stupid would know how heavy Lin Yi's heart was. Next time it wouldn't be this easy. Even if he drained all of Lin Yi's blood dry, he might not be able to wake Xiao Xiao up. Yeah, didn't you say that you'd live with us forever and go to university together? Meng Yao had accepted Xiao Xiao as well. At first it was sympathy, but then it was friendship, and after living together they became best friends who could talk about anything. Her relationship with Xiao Xiao wasn't much worse than Xiao Xiao and Tang Yun's relationship. The Mist didn't want Xiao Xiao to die, but there were some things that she couldn't change. Chapter 1282. Haha, alright, we'll be the troublemaker duo sweeping through the universe. Ah. Xiao Xiao started laughing, but after that she felt a bit sad. Actually, you guys don't need to try and convince me. You know what my body is like. Yun sis, I'm actually going to die, right? Look at how you're all centered around me. You even gave me Lin Yi hubby because I'm going to die, right? Of course not, didn't we agree on this? It's just a bet. Tang Yun shook her head. Alright, I've thought it through. If I die, then so be it. If there's a next life, then we'll be sisters again. If there isn't, then I'll be in heaven waiting for you guys to come and accompany me. It's nothing. Xiao Xiao smiled. Actually, it's been more than 10 years and I knew that this day would come. I'm already very happy and satisfied. Alright, let's go to sleep then. At least we're happy now. Meng Yao nodded. Xiao Xiao was covered in Lin Yi's blood, and some of it had dried up. It was very uncomfortable, so she needed a hot bath first. I'll go shower. You guys? Xiao Xiao asked. We'll wait a bit, you shower first. Meng Yao knew that Xiao Xiao wasn't feeling well, so she didn't hesitate to let Xiao Xiao take the bath. I'll shower with Xiao Xiao, Yushu said, wanting to join in. The bathroom was big and it was more than enough for the two of them. Xiao Xiao didn't reject. She was quite familiar with Yushu now, and it wasn't a big deal to be naked with her. Xiao Xiao turned on the hot water and entered the bathroom first. Yushu said that she was going to get some body wash and that she'd be back in a bit. Xiao Xiao didn't mind. But just as Xiao Xiao was taking off her clothes and enjoying herself in the bathtub, Yushu came running in with a camera, excited. Xiao Xiao, come. I'll take a picture of you. Xiao Xiao jumped in fright. She didn't expect Yushu to run in with a camera. Then wouldn't he have been recorded completely? Xiao Xiao couldn't help but get pissed at how excited Yushu was. She subconsciously jumped up and tried to grab the camera from Yushu's hand. However, when she stood up, she suddenly realized that she was completely exposed in front of the camera. But now Yushu had bought all of them. Wow, Xiao Xiao, you have a great figure too. Yushu dodged as she slapped away. Hurry up and set it up. I was going to use it for Shield Bro's memories after you're dead. You should cooperate so that you can live forever in Shield Bro's heart. Since Xiao Xiao had seen through life and death, she naturally didn't mind Yushu joking around a bit. But Yushu's actions made her really shy, even though she already agreed with what Yushu said. He had to admit that Yushu was right. What if Lin Yi missed him after he died? He could look at his own video and reminisce about it, but this video of him not wearing clothes was a little embarrassing. Xiao Xiao didn't mind letting Lin Yi see it, but she was a little embarrassed. Plus, she was afraid that Yushu would turn around and give the video to Lin Yi. She'd be too ashamed to face anyone if that happened. If she were to wait until she was dead, then so be it. She wouldn't know anything once she was dead, so there was no need to worry. And so, Xiao Xiao thought of a good idea. She was going to drag Yushu down with her. Let's do it, how do you want to do it? Xiao Xiao didn't resist anymore, ready to cooperate with Yushu. Yushu paused, she didn't expect Xiao Xiao to think it through so quickly. But Yushu didn't think too much about it as far as she was concerned. Xiao Xiao wanted to leave something behind in front of Lin Yi, and so she let her guard down. She let Xiao Xiao do all sorts of seductive poses and Xiao Xiao played along. And so Yushu's guard was at its lowest. What she didn't expect was for Xiao Xiao to suddenly grab the camera from Yushu's hand and point it at Yushu herself. Wah, stupid Shu, you fell for it? It's my turn now. Lin Yi honey saw me and he saw you. Here, pose. Your boobs are so big. Xiao Xiao stepped to the side after taking the camera, so that Yushu wouldn't take it away again. Yushu didn't expect Xiao Xiao to be so cooperative before, but with Xiao Xiao's personality, it wasn't hard to understand why she would do that. Xiao Xiao could do what she could do too. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Shield Bro's already seen me a couple of times, it's nothing. Yushu decided to be generous and let Xiao Xiao take the video, thinking that she'd have to wait for Lin Yi to see this video. Yushu considered herself as the second wife, but the two didn't have a real relationship yet. She didn't feel like it was a good idea to just show Lin Yi a video. But, since she was so happy today, It didn't matter if she took a video. And so, at first it was just one person, but then it was two people. Finally, it was two people working together to film the Miss and Tang Yun, and so, the Miss and Tang Yun were in for a bad time. The video in the DV couldn't be shown to Lin Yi at all. It had just become a joke between the sisters. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't expect Yushu and Xiao Xiao to make such a big commotion. After returning to his room, Lin Yi entered the training space immediately, absorbing the energy in the jade space like crazy. "I'm afraid this will be the last time," Jiao Yazi said coldly as he looked at Lin Yi. "What last time?" Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He understood, but he didn't want to understand. "The last time we'll use this method to save her," Jiao Yazi said flatly. "I don't believe you don't understand." "I understand? But why?" Lin Yi smiled bitterly. So this was what Jiao Yazi was talking about. Lin Yi didn't want to accept this, but there was nothing he could do. Chapter 1283. You're giving me a hard time. Lin Yi looked at Jiao Lao helplessly. "Can't you let me dream a little? Why did you have to say it out loud?" "I'm saying it out loud so you can prepare yourself and adjust your mentality. As a practitioner, your heart is already in a mess. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but if you're not in a good mood, it will definitely affect your training speed." "This isn't what I want to see," Jiao Yazi said. "Alright, since you can see through it, is there any other way?" Lin Yi asked. "If my real body was here, there shouldn't be a problem, but there's no other way. I'm just a shadow, or rather a strand of soul. I can only exist in the jade pendant. There's no other way." Jiao Lao shook his head. Jiao Yazi's words made Lin Yi fall into deep thought. Lin Yi didn't want to accept this result, but there was nothing he could do. "Forget it, let's just go with the flow." Lin Yi sighed. House Kong had recently bought a large amount of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine, but the situation they expected didn't happen. From their perspective, no matter how much raw materials they squeezed out, it wouldn't be able to withstand such a huge amount of consumption. However, Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was starting to be sold on a large scale nationwide, and the supply seemed to be very abundant. Moreover, according to House Kang's investigation, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was building a factory with great fanfare. Building a factory? What did this mean? It meant that the raw materials were very abundant, but the size of the factory limited the production capacity. This result made the people of the Kong family extremely shocked. What's going on? Can someone tell us? Where did they get the raw materials? Dr. Kong was furious when he heard the news. Didn't they say that they were losing money? Which family would lose money like this? Building a factory to increase production capacity just to lose money? Dad, don't get angry first. This matter needs to be investigated further. They might not be building a factory to produce injury medicine. Maybe they have a new product they want to sell? Kong Guifeng hesitated and stood out. The idea of buying a large amount of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was brought up by Kong Guifeng and Zhaolong. Now that there was a problem, he naturally had to explain himself. Let's not care about their factory first. What I want to ask is, where did they get the raw materials? House Kong has used up almost all of our liquid funds in order to buy Miracle Dr. Guan's medicine. We filled up the warehouse. Even when our Kong family was in its heyday, our warehouse was never so full. What did they use to produce the injury medicine? We've never produced this much, even during the harvest years. Miracle Dr. Kong was about to explode. He suddenly slapped the table and roared, "These are only the ones bought by our Kong family, and there are already so many of them. What about the others in the market?" "What's the market? They're buying more than us. They have everything. Even if we buy more, they still have more." Dr. Kong accidentally went to House Kang's warehouse today and found that it was filled with Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. That was when he felt that something was wrong. How many raw materials did they need to produce this? So he immediately called for Kong Guifeng, who was in charge of purchasing materials. Kong Guifeng was shocked when he saw the amount of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine in the warehouse. Wasn't this too much? He only ordered his subordinates to buy as much medicine as they could get, but he didn't check how much he got himself. Plus, it had only been a few days. Kong Guifeng thought that they couldn't get that much even if they bought more. But looking at it today, it seemed like there was a problem. They bought too much and it didn't seem to affect the market at all. Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was sold as usual, and there was never a situation where there was a shortage. Isn't nephew Xiaoming in charge of the other party's supply channel? Kong Guifeng wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. It seemed like his father was really angry. But Kang Guifeng didn't expect the situation in the warehouse to be so full. So, without a choice, Kang Guifeng could only push the blame to his nephew Kang Mingming. Kang Mingming was in charge of finding out the other party's supply channel. He didn't get the information, so what did it have to do with him? He had only made a wrong judgment when he had no information. Kang Mingming was looking at the joke coldly. He didn't agree to buying a large amount of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine, but no one listened. Now that they were in trouble, he was very happy. But he didn't expect his uncle to be so shameless and push the blame to him. "Uncle, you can't say that. Back then, I was against your way of doing things. I already said that the other party might have changed the formula and removed a few expensive herbs. That's why the cost was reduced and the output was increased. But you didn't believe me? Now you're pushing the blame to me. Isn't that a bit wrong?" Kang Mingming jumped out and retorted. "This." Kang Guifeng suddenly remembered that Kang Mingming did object to it before. He didn't think much of it, but now that Kang Mingming reminded him, he remembered that Kang Mingming did say those words. "Oh, he predicted it again? Xiaoming? You seem to be able to predict things like a god recently? You seem to have predicted it a few times?" Xiaolong said faintly as he looked at Kang Mingming. Xiaolong sounded like he was praising Kang Mingming, but anyone could tell that he was suspecting that Kang Mingming was colluding with outsiders to frame House Kang. Enough. Dr. Kang looked at Kang Guifeng and Xiaolong, who were trying to push the blame away. He slammed the table and scolded, "Shut up. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Xiaoming did say that before, but that was to remind us, out of good intentions. I'm the one who's lost my mind and listened to you two trash. No matter how much of a spoiled brat Xiaoming is, he wouldn't collude with outsiders to frame House Kang. House Kang is his house, and when he becomes the head of the house, all these things will be his. What is he framing?" Chapter 1284. Yes, Xiaoming's right. The most important thing right now is to solve the problem. You two pieces of trash, look at Xiaoming. This is what it means to care about House Kang and you too. Pushing the blame away when something happens, isn't House Kang still your House Kang? Dr. Kang scolded. Xiaolong and Kang Guifeng were troubled. What was wrong with this Kang Mingming? His luck was surprisingly good these days, but he couldn't say these words out loud. Grandpa, uncle and brother are actually worried, but we're just a little flustered. Kang Mingming didn't wait for Dr. Kang to ask and started talking. "I think that we, House Kang, need to take some measures to minimize our losses from this mistake. First of all, we have to stop buying the injury medicine from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. I suggest that we bring the injury medicine to our lab for testing and comparison. We might not be able to analyze the formula, but we can see if there are any of the precious herbs in Miracle Dr. Kang's golden creation. I think this shouldn't be a problem for you, right?" Kang Xiaoming spoke leisurely. What he said was what he said last time, but this time it was more professional and strict. This was something Kang Xiaoming had prepared beforehand. Although Kang Xiaoming didn't foresee that his big brother would be at a disadvantage, he was unwilling to accept it last time. He had been praying for his big brother's plan to fail, so he made some preparations beforehand. He didn't think that it would come in handy now. Yes, Xiaoming is right. Xiaolong, bring some of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine for analysis and see if there are any precious herbs in it. This is very important. If there aren't any, we'll be screwed. Miracle Dr. Kang knew that something wasn't right. Then we'll have to sell our stock as soon as possible. Yes, Grandpa. Xiaolong had no choice. Kang Mingming was in the limelight now, but he still nodded with a dark expression. It wasn't an easy task to analyze the ingredients of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. With the current science and technology, it was not easy to analyze the formula. If it was so easy, then there would be no such thing as a secret formula in the world. Those outstanding food ingredients would also be analyzed by others, not to mention those finished pills. Back then, the Kang family had expended so much effort to analyze the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, but they hadn't been able to figure it out. In the end, they had come up with a dog-T conclusion, so one could see how difficult it was to analyze the formula. However, it was much easier to test whether there were a few known components in a certain drug. As long as they analyzed the characteristics of those components, they would be able to determine it. As a result, the test report of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was sent back to House Kang as fast as possible. Looking at the series of red crosses on the report, Dr. Kang almost fainted. The red crosses meant that the ingredients weren't present, which meant that there wasn't a single rare ingredient in Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. No wonder the medicine was so cheap, There weren't any of those rare ingredients. Naturally, the cost would be lower. No, there's none. Dr. Kong threw the report at Kong Guifeng's face. You unfilial son, take a good look at yourself. You're a grown man and your brain isn't as good as Xiaoming's? You should have gone to the lab a long time ago, but now you've got a whole warehouse full of trash. You've taken up so much of House Kang's liquidity. What should we do? Father, please don't be angry. I didn't think of this, did I? Plus, Xiaoming was the one who gave me Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. You saw it too, it's exactly the same as ours. Who would have thought that they would cut corners? Kong Guifeng frowned. You can't blame me for this, can you? Kong Guifeng didn't finish his sentence, but anyone could understand what he was implying. The only person to blame was Kong Ming, who told him to bring back a fake prescription. Fuck your mother. Dr. Kong heard his eldest son's words and finally exploded. He jumped up and slapped Kong Guifeng's face. You're blaming others for your own mistakes? Xiaoming did bring back the prescription, but Xiaoming said that Guan Xuemin might have cut corners and changed the prescription. Why didn't you hear that? Do you have a choice? Kong Guifeng was slapped and immediately became quiet. He covered his swollen face, depressed. I'm sorry, father. Grandpa, since it's already happened, let's think of a way to solve it. Although father and I are both at fault, we're doing this for House Kong. We want to deal a blow to Miracle Dr. Guan. Xiaolong quickly tried to smooth things over. Then tell me, what should we do? Dr. Kong nodded and asked. First, we should get rid of the stock in the warehouse as soon as possible. These things have an expiration date and if they expire we'll lose a lot of money. Xiaolong said, if it comes down to it we'll have to lose some money and get rid of them. Since they cut corners on the medicine, the effects won't be as good as before. If there's a negative reaction in the market and we don't get rid of them in time, we'll lose money. That's the only way. Miracle Dr. Kong sighed. House Kang's recent financial situation can't take much more. House Kang's main business has been attacked by Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, and it's not what it used to be. House Xiao broke off the engagement with us. It's one wrong step and every step is wrong. Not to mention becoming a noble house, it'll be hard for us to maintain our previous glory. Grandpa, we shouldn't give up. We should take the initiative. Since we know that Miracle Dr. Guan cut corners on the raw materials, we can make a statement and attack them for their shoddy business practices. We'll tarnish their reputation. Xiaolong suggested, unwilling to admit defeat. He wanted to change his image in front of his grandpa. One had to know that he was the third-generation head of House Kong. But now it had become Kong Xiaoming out of nowhere. He couldn't accept it. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.